Okay. I'd like to call this meeting of the Custer County Board of County Commissioners to order on Tuesday, March the 7th of 2017, and the time is 9 o'clock. I would like to ask George, how about you leading us Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Katnick.
Here.
Commissioner Hood. Here. Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And clerk to the board, Kelly Camper, present.
Okay, do we have any amendments to the agenda at this time?
Do we want to discuss the emails that we've been getting from a non-Custer County resident, how we want to handle that, or is that something that we don't want to discuss this time? Mr. Howard, I believe his name is.
It's, if you want to discuss it, we can put it on at the end, I guess.
Okay. I'm just curious, since he's made accusations against you, and I mean, we need a,
Well,
I
that's
feel we
just,
need to respond in some form or fashion. I don't know how to do it if he won't accept a response from you.
I don't respond to him for the reasons I stated after the first time I communicated with him, but,
Okay, well, then I don't want to add it then. Let's just leave it.
okay, I mean, if you invite him here to speak to the board, that's your decision, but I think you're just gonna get more of the same served up to you, so,
Okay, I have no addition.
Okay.
Thank you.
sure.
The agenda will stand as presented. Real quick, I know you're wondering what we're talking about, and I'm not sure what all I can say, but we have a gentleman in the county that has, or out of the county, but is involved in some county activities, who's claiming that he's been discriminated against. And it's one of these issues that apparently has happened in other places, in other counties before. And we've asked that the correspondence go through our attorney, and he's refusing to correspond with our attorney.
Well, he's putting it on
But-
Facebook at least.
Pardon me?
At least he's putting it on Facebook.
Is he? Well, you know, we get into these things when you get into the law, and you as an attorney can fully understand what we need to do and what we can't do. So that's the situation. You may be aware of it, folks, but that was what we were talking about. All right, I would like to ask now for some public comment.
For audience introduction.
Audience introduction.
Oh, wait a minute. Well, audience introduction. I'm sorry. We do this so we have your name on record here. We'll start behind you there.
Introduce myself.
Yeah.
I'm Louis Devaney.
Roger Wise.
Kim
just-
Heath.
Jimmy. And Mike Rourke.
Dale Mullen.
Roger Gregg.
Marcy Gregg.
Steve Widener.
Let's come front row.
Jackie Bubis for the Sentinel.
Catherine Ripley-Williams. Cindy Flower.
You in the back.
Ann Wilson.
Mary Gump.
Ann Barker.
George.
George Gramlich from the Sentinel.
Charles Bogle.
Steve Cox. Peggy Collins.
Josh Martin.
Bill Parker.
John Johnston.
Did I get everybody introduced? Did you get the names pretty well? Okay. All right. At this time now, I would like to open up for public comment. Yes, sir. You're up.
I'm going to address my comments and questions to Commissioner Katnick.
Okay.
Please don't construe the fact that I'm focusing on you as that I have anything against you. I do not.
Fine. No.
I'm here to give you information and to ask some questions. Here's what's out there. You're going to be a one-term commissioner. You have a grudge against Roger Squire. You want to run this county like Boss Tweed. That's what's out there. And that you're running roughshod over everybody. Now that's what's out there. I'm not saying that's my posture.
Well, I can respond. Excuse me, go
Do
ahead.
you want to respond? Then I'll...
Sure. The first one, your first question was
What's
personnel.
the question?
No, your first comment was personnel.
That that you have something against Roger Squire, that you're running the place like Boss Tweed.
All right, I have, for you folks, I have no issues, personal issues or otherwise with Roger. I've known Roger since he was in grade school. We grew up together. Some of his brothers were in my classes. There are times that we disagreed on how something should be done on a professional basis, but I have supported Roger. I supported Roger for the assistant road boss position. And I wish I could get into more details, but because it's a personnel matter, we really can't get into personnel issues. But as a general statement, and I think Roger will agree, that we visited, we've talked since we got the new road boss, and I think we're all on the same page.
These aren't my attitudes.
I know,
telling you what's out.
I'm looking at you about addressing the audience in
Right,
general.
and
Right.
that's the climate.
Uh,
I don't believe half of what I see in anything I hear. But as you know and I know, politics is perception. And most perception is erroneous. And a case in point is that this newspaper, let me read this to you. Assistant Road Boss Squire left in dust. That's what you call editorializing news.
Please read down below, and you'll see also that Roger mentions that there were several times that he'd been passed over for road boss in that same article. Would you read that, please? Sorry.
I have worked for the Road and Bridge for 42 years and 2 months, stated Squire, during an interview with the Tribune. I have run road and bridge for years. When asked why he was not given to interview, I do not know. Okay, just, you're making me go another direction, but I'm going to do that. It's not the first time a Board of Commissioners has not given me the job.
The only reason I want this, folks, is that it's not, there's two things we do as public people. First of all, we have to try to do what we think is best for the county as a county. Secondly, we have to be fiscally conservative with what we spend. Third, we have to try to plan for the future. And fourth, we have to address issues that are ongoing issues that are problems or situations that need to be corrected. If I appear to be Boss Tweedy, he was the Chicago...
Those are my words.
No, but he was the Chicago...
He was a New York County Hall.
New York, whatever. I have no intentions of that. I have been raised in this county. We do have some agendas. One of the agendas is to improve the road and bridge. Almost everybody in here, I'll bet at one time or the other, has complained about how rough the road is. We need to make some changes of direction. We have a road crew that, we have about the same amount of roads as we had in 1982, but we have about, I'm guessing, 3 times the traffic on those roads. They used to pull on the road with a machine and they could grade the whole road and only have 2 or 3 cars go by. Now they'll grade a road and they have 4 or 5 cars go by about every 10 minutes. So we felt we needed to do more than what we had been doing in the past, and that's partly why we went that direction. But I certainly have, and I'll be happy to address Roger in whatever manner necessary. But if you want to ask him, I did talk to him after we got done with the assistant position and was welcoming him on board. And I don't have a personal vendetta. Life's too short for personal vendettas. It's way beyond that. The other thing, am I a one-term commissioner? Is that what you were asking?
Commissioner Catlin, people are mad at you. Okay,
Well,
what I'm doing is giving you what's out there. And
I appreciate-
have a couple of other,
I appreciate that, and
Okay.
unfortunately, we have people that only have half of a story. But my position is I am doing with my colleagues what we feel is best for the county. If people are upset, I'm sorry they're upset. They were upset 9 months ago. And there's a very vocal group out there. But as I go forth as your chairman of the board and as a county commissioner, what we do is based on business principles, and it's based on issues that we think we need to address collectively. And as being the commissioner that's sitting here the longest term and being the chairman, I end up being the target sometimes. But I have not made any decision on running. We have some things we need to get done in the next year and a half. And When I come to this county, I had no intention of being a county commissioner. I ran because we needed to address some issues and facilitate some change, and that was how I got elected. And I think we looked at colleagues' platforms, my two colleagues, it was somewhat similar. And we're just trying to take the county forward in a sensible direction and getting the most out of our county resources that we can. You're going to look at some of the things that we'll be doing down the road and wonder why. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very severe problem in Wetmore. This Junkins fire burned about 18,000 acres. And we potentially have a very serious flood threat right to the middle of Wetmore. We're making some decisions, we're trying to save some money, we're trying to help some people, but it's because we have to. I don't want to see a disaster occur that we haven't prepared ourselves for. Some of the stuff that we do, I wish I could just lay everything out for you. But there is a state law regarding personnel issues. And it's interesting that some of the folks that are raising Cain seem to think that such a law does not exist. But it's very strong, it's very explicit, and when we get down to personnel issues, there's some things that, and that's personnel, not personal. The personnel issues, there are situations that we just cannot discuss it.
Okay, Commissioner, you're being defensive, and I understand that you want to give, I'd like to finish here.
Sure.
I'm telling you what's out there.
I appreciate that.
I always communicate what's out there. A lot of it's noise, and a lot of it is this paper, if you can call it that. And in the same paper, the editorial says, now listen to this, and I'm addressing all of you. The Tribune asked all three commissioners to respond to questions about this situation, meaning not giving Roger Squire an interview at least. Dead silence from all three. But we understand that there's bad blood between Squire and Commissioner Bob Katnick for some time. We hope that didn't play into the equation. Okay. There's no evidence that he gives that there's bad blood. But as I have said, politics is perception, not necessarily truth.
Well,
now I have a question. I think you're going to have to resist the temptation to chase rabbits here. The big thing out there is that he was not even given an interview. Okay? And that's wrong. The other thing that's out there is that he's been here 42 years, and he should have automatically walked into the job. Now, you folks have a tough job, so I'm not here to rag on you. Because as we know, the voters we want omelets, we want omelets, we want omelets. You're not giving us omelets, so we vote you out. So you give the voters omelets. Then the voters say, you're breaking our eggs. You can't break our eggs. And that's how fickle the human mind is. But this is what is out there. Now, I have a question for you. Why wasn't Roger given, well, let me preface my question.
okay.
It is my understanding that the man that you hired is over-the-top qualified, has impeccable resume, incredible references. Even people from the road and bridge that I have talked to said he was an excellent choice. Okay? That's out there. Now, the question is, why was he not at least given an interview?
I fully understand.
I don't care, but that's what's out there.
I fully understand. Clint, what can we respond to that legally?
Well, there were applications, there was a screening process to determine who they wanted to interview based on
They meaning who?
the commissioners.
And the workforce.
Outside workforce.
So the workforce determined who was interviewed?
No. We sent
Okay, but
the
you're putting
resumes
it
to
in-
them because they're a third party that didn't know any of them. They looked at what the job qualifications were, and then they rank them as who they think is best qualified to fill those qualifications.
The workforce did.
It's a state workforce.
Are you aware of the workforce?
No.
Okay. Would you like to explain it?
Well, I want Clint
Okay,
to
Clint, go
finish
ahead.
what he was saying, please.
All right, but there was an initial screening process based on the applications done by the commissioners and by a representative from the workforce. Out of the number of applications, they decided they would take the top 3. They went through a scoring process. Each of them scored these individuals separately. They didn't discuss the scoring, how they were doing it, but when all the numbers were added up, there were 3 that they felt should be interviewed. Roger Squire was not in the top 3.
Are
So
those
that was the process.
I'm sorry, forget
No,
me.
go ahead.
Is that the only reason he wasn't given an interview? His qualifications through the screening process?
What are you referring to? Tell us what you're trying to say. That's not
I'm
clear.
asking a question.
Let-
That's what
I would let, are you going to continue, or?
I was not part of the screening process, but that was my understanding of how it went, that they each scored based on the applications, the resumes, the applications, the things that they stated in there. That was how it was decided who the 3 would be that were actually interviewed, which is a process that's been used in this county for some time. When there are a number of applicants for a job, there's an initial review to determine who they believe the finalists should be.
It sounds like I'm questioning your judgment. I'm not.
Oh, no, I'm
I'm
not taking it that
reflecting
way.
what's out there.
No.
And what's happened is a huge political fallout.
And the,
Okay, and I don't care because I trust Jay Prince to make the decisions, especially for the county, because I think he's a person of character and honesty. Okay? Did you have any idea when you made that decision of the fallout that would result?
did I personally?
All of you.
I did, because I know the people in the county.
You did?
There's times when we make decisions that we have to make the decisions. And,
I understand.
And we ranked them individually. We didn't get together and discuss it. The 4 of us that ranked them did their own independent evaluations, then listed the candidates, and that's how we identified the 3 that we interviewed.
Okay.
And then from there, we interviewed the 3, and then from there, the decision was made to move forward.
Now, I want you to understand
That's,
one more thing before I stop
that's,
here. My motive here is to give you a chance to voice that to the community,
Well-
because they're not hearing it.
I wish I
I
could.
don't think that I'm criticizing your decision or your judgment. I am not.
Well, I wish we could go into other detail, but because of personnel issues, we get down to individual qualifications. Those are personnel issues.
You can't
And we
discuss
can't-
certain
and we
things
can't
outside
get
of
into that.
executive sessions. I'm going to end with one more thing. There's been a lot of criticism of the board for having a lot of executive sessions as compared to past boards. I don't care. I know you have to do your job, but the attitude out there is that you're hiding things. I don't think that you are, and I know that certain things have to be done under executive sessions, so I'm okay with it. I would like to ask the question, why have you had a bunch of executive sessions as compared to other boards? I don't know.
Well, there are a number of different reasons why a local public body like the county commissioners need to go into executive session. Primarily, so far, it's been 2 reasons. One is for legal advice from the county attorney. If I recommend that we go into executive session because of the attorney-client privilege, so we can talk about legal issues, we've done that. The other, with the new board, there are a number of personnel issues that come up initially, and they've been dealing with some personnel issues, and that also requires that it be discussed in executive session. I think, and I can't, there may be more personnel issues that come up, but it seems like the ones that they had to hire a road boss, they had to hire an assistant road boss, that was done in executive session. There were some other personnel issues that were discussed in executive session to protect the confidentiality for the employee. And I know that some people claim, well, Robin Young wasn't an employee. She's not an employee of Custer County in the sense Custer County doesn't have the authority to hire or fire her, but in my legal opinion, she is an employee. We did pay part of her salary of the extension agent. She answers to the Board of County Commissioners. She makes reports, takes her direction. So in that sense, she was an employee and was entitled to have her matter discussed in executive session as well. So that's why that was done. But I'm hoping that there won't be a need for as many executive sessions that have been done in the first 2 months or so. There've been a lot, I would agree, but I think that we're kind of over the hump on a lot of that now.
I want to make it clear that I simply want to let you know, number one, what's out there. And number two, my motive isn't to embarrass you or put you on
Oh,
the spot.
no, I'm not taking that at all.
You needed an opportunity to explain what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Do you?
I have no problem with the decisions that the board has made, because it's a tough job and you're going to have to make decisions which will have political fallout. I would encourage you to communicate. You used to have those meetings.
Town hall meeting.
Okay. Now we have maybe 30 people here, but there's hundreds out there that are doing this. And I would encourage you to try in some way to communicate to the people
And I think we
when you
probably,
get stuff like
I think we probably will be having one of those. The way that it goes, there's two ways. First of all, the ones I held as an individual commissioner, so I can hold those meetings. There's no requirements of disclosures and minutes and all the things that we do. If the three of us were to hold a town hall meeting, we would have to be very careful what we did, so that we don't violate the, how do I say this?
Open Records Act.
The what?
The Open Records.
The open records was what I was trying to say. So I think it's something we're going to be doing, but I can't speak for my two colleagues, but I think it's, as we have time, I think we'll be doing it.
Let me correct, I meant open meetings law. I'm
Open
sorry.
meetings law.
Open meetings law.
And there's another thing that I think you folks need to be aware of, and it's not been in the press very much, but we're spending a lot of time trying to mitigate and to be in a position to minimize damage from the Junkins fire. And as an example, this week I've got 3 meetings this week related to that.
Well, thank you for, I've taken enough of your time. Thank you for answering my
Well, thank you
questions.
for being
And I appreciate, I
Does
really,
anyone
I
else
really
want-
appreciate the work you're doing.
Anybody else want to comment? Yeah.
We all know that Roger was an interim road boss. For the record, I'm John Johnston. My question is, why was he interviewed for his own job? If he was already the assistant road boss, why were there,
I think you just answered your question. Do you know the definition of interim?
I'm talking about as the assistant road boss.
Right,
He already had
he was
that
the
job.
interim assistant road boss. He was not the interim road boss. Each year, folks, we appoint a whole number of county positions. The county supervisor is appointed on an annual basis. The 2 assistant supervisors are on an annual basis. Planning and zoning is on an annual basis. And I don't remember all the others, but every one of those is appointed on a year-to-year basis. And when we got ready to put things together this year, well, Rusty Christensen had asked to go back to the landfill full-time. And that was before we got down to the meeting. So we knew that we were going to be moving in a direction that was a little bit different than what they had been. So in that case, we didn't appoint a road boss. We were going to search and screen. And we appointed Roger as the interim assistant. And when we get down to the assistant road boss, and this had nothing to do with that time frame, but I want you to realize that once you select a road boss, then he needs to have his team. He needs to work with who he feels comfortable. And that was why we interviewed then for the assistant road boss. So there's nothing in here, it's not like you've got a tenure or longevity. The individual employees are hired by the road boss or by the clerk or by whoever. But those positions that we appoint are yearly appointments. Does that explain it to you? And that was why we did that, because we know and at that time we had no idea who was going to be road boss. But we needed to have that structure so that as we put the team together, as we got the road boss, then we needed that person involved in the process of helping to select the assistant, because it's a team program.
I just was under the assumption that he was already the assistant road boss, that was not an interim.
No, that's erroneous.
Road boss, but not the he was the assistant serving as an interim road boss.
That's erroneous for 2 reasons. First of all, Rusty Christensen agreed to serve as road boss until we hired a new road boss.
Right.
So there was a continuation of the road boss in Rusty's function that he had been performing for the last couple of years. And then the second one then, and you're welcome to look in our minutes, but at that time, we didn't appoint a road boss, and we appointed Roger as the interim assistant road boss. And the interim meaning, when you're done, then you're either appointed as an assistant, or you're not appointed as the assistant full-time. And that was why we had the interview process. And he had to apply for his own job. Well, there's lots of things in the business world. The first thing you have to have is confidence in who you're working with. And if there had been some reason that the road boss was concerned about some issues or something, we want to be sure that we had a team in place. Roger has a tremendous knowledge of the county, of the roads. But we're in a crisis in the roads. All of you know that we don't get the roads graded as often we have to. We've got to manage more efficiently. We've got to reach out and get more done with what we have. And you have to interview for your job. You know, it's no different than about everything else. I'm going to make an assumption, and don't think I'm comparing them, but the similar situation. If you hire a new head coach, he hires his assistants. If we hire a new road boss where it's an appointed position, then he needs to be involved in that process. Does that explain it?
Yes.
But it was an interim appointment. It was not appointed as assistant road boss.
I just thought that Roger and Rusty both served as the interim
Pardon?
road boss.
I didn't hear. Pardon?
I thought that Roger and Rusty both served as the interim road boss.
No.
No.
No. Roger's assumption was that he was interim road boss, but he was interim assistant road boss.
Okay.
Go ahead. No one saying?
Nope.
Clint,
I don't have anything else to add.
does that answer it?
Yes.
Thank you for your patience, folks. Thank you for your concern.
Thank you for your explanation.
But there's some things I wish we could go more into, but I can't by law.
That's fine.
Yes, sir.
Did the three of you ride together to visit with...
Pardon me?
Did the three of you ride together to visit with Dr. Frank?
Yes, we did, and we posted it that we were going to as per county instructions, our attorney instructions, and it's legal to do. You're smiling back there.
Answer my question.
Well, and again, we get down to that, folks. Here to Denver is what, 140 miles, roughly? Well, let's say 150. So that's 300 miles round trip. So we drive 900 miles in 3 individual vehicles for a meeting, or should we try to be more conservative and drive 300 miles? But we followed the advice of our attorneys, John, and it was posted what we were going to be doing. So I think in that respect, I appreciate your question, but in that respect, we felt that we were entirely within the legal limits to do that. And other counties do that also. But it becomes, if it's short like the Wetmore, we all go down ourselves. But I think when we have something that far, I think it makes, again, it's prudent financially to try to save what we can.
I think people need to understand that just because you have a quorum of commissioners together, that does not constitute a public meeting. What constitutes a public meeting is if they're going to discuss business. And my advice to them was that it was certainly proper to travel together. It just made sense. All the county commissioners do that all around the state, but do not discuss business while you're traveling together. And I understand that could be hard not to do it, but I mean, it's just common sense. It's silly to say you can't ever be seen, two of them can't ever be seen together anywhere at any time outside of public meeting. That just isn't the way the world works. They all understand that they're not to discuss any business with one another or with any other member of the public if two of them are together. But they have lives to live, and some socialize more than others. I don't know that the three of you socialize that much outside this room, but some commissioners are also good friends, and they have to walk a fine line, but that's the way it works.
There's another comment I'd like to make, John, for your general knowledge. When I took office 2 years ago, many will recall that I was complaining about the Open Meetings Act because I felt there were opportunities when I would arrive in Wetmore, as an example, the other two commissioners would be sitting in a pickup together. And I felt there were some things happening that I wasn't privy to. But as we went into it, the idea being is that they have a right to visit as long as it's not county business. Now, how do you know it's not county business? The only way you know it's county business is what our morals and our values are. And I have been very stringent, I think, in my actions, that I will not discuss any type of a business in a non-professional setting. And I'll do that for 2 or 3 reasons. One, it's not right. 2, it's something that is improper to do and we don't need to be doing it. And 3, all of you are watching. And that's the best conscience we can have.
Could I ask a question, since you brought that up? Are you saying that prior to the new board taking their seats, that commissioners were violating the open meetings law by talking in a truck?
I had
Or
asked
did
that.
you suspect that?
No, I had asked that question because I saw them, and then I found out that they were not violating the law because they had the right to sit there and visit,
All right,
not the right to make county decisions.
okay. Thank
And
you.
this was in the press and stuff back a couple years ago.
Thank you.
Okay? Okay, any other? Yes, ma'am.
As I hear this, and Bartha, as I hear these comments and perceptions, I think a new board is giving the perception of running in and they haven't really developed the trust of the community and they're eroding their trust because it comes across like with Roger Squire, a violation of the Elder Working Act for the HR. It comes across that you say you have these plans. Why not communicate those to the community instead of leaving the community to be guessing what your motives are and what interest you have the community for? In the case of Robin, she wasn't, according to what we saw, given due process with conflict resolution, which y'all said she would be given in the workshop. So when we see these things, it leaves us to question. So that's where we're coming from.
Let me address, if I may, Robin's situation first. We've made some statements on that. We're tied by what we can do, but as you saw in the statements released by Dr. Tony Frank and the ones that we've released, all of that for Robin's process, that's all a CSU process. We have no...
Let me interject though, but when I listened to the tape of the workshop, that was not a workshop where you were doing conflict resolution with communications or anything.
The workshop
It was already decided.
The workshop we had, ma'am, was because we had a large number of people involved in 4-H and the 4-H Foundation that were very upset when they wanted to do something and then was overruled. That's a process.
Legally overruled.
Ma'am, if I may please, that's a process that was not fully understood when the Extension Service took over all the county 4-H foundations. And I think it could have been avoided if we'd had more discussions. But from the standpoint of the rule, the meeting that we had was to discuss the 4-H, primarily the foundation issue, with the head of the 4-H at the state level and with the district director, who are the two people who have the responsibilities in that area.
I also understood it was for communication and to resolve the communication issue, which was not done.
And where do you understand that from?
Immediately, because the letters that you published, it was a communication issue. That's what they were saying needed to be resolved. And then the next step was Robin's gone.
The timing was perhaps unfortunate, but we had had issues that had been ongoing way before the foundation come up. I wish we've taken more time. There were other people that wanted to speak specifically to 4-H issues that they had, and then as we went on, they decided they were done. They didn't want to talk. Yes, ma'am.
Were you aware of the amount of time that it took for Westcliff to get a full-time county agent. And what you have done destroyed years of work of this community. And Mary can tell you more than I what it took for us to get somebody here full-time. And a lot of us have worked with Robin.
Do you know what it took to get him here full-time?
Huh? Yes,
Do you know that?
yes.
Would you share it with us,
I
please?
said Mary knows. Mary knows.
Let me
she was
bring
on
you up to
the-
date, if I may. Pardon me, I don't mean to interrupt. Please go ahead and finish first.
Well, yes, because I just think that everything that we read, Robin did act legally. And so you have a precedent. You're talking legal a lot, but CSU said she acted legally and she has been a
That's right.
good county agent.
Let me go back, if I may, to day one. And I appreciate some of you that have been here a while. But I'm the one that got the county agent in Custer County in 1976. My mother and a senator in Gunnison and me working with the extension from the inside out. We pushed and pushed and pushed and finally got it specified as a line item in the budget so CSU could not take that money and put it someplace else.
Right.
So when we established the extension position, I was an integral part of establishing it. And CSU was just sure I got that position so I could come home and take the job. Well, I didn't. I had a job I was going to. But I have worked very hard, ma'am, to work for things in the area.
I appreciate
Secondly, I also have about 25 years of extension experience. I have worked with agents all over Arizona for 20 years. I was an agent in Colorado. I've worked with agents, and I fully understand what an agent, what the limitations are, what they can do, and how we pull together to build county programs.
Right, but you also have an interim where we lost that, and it had to be re-established in about 1990. We did not have
Well-
a full-time agent at that time, so it had shifted back, and they had to do the work you
We're-
did all over
I
again.
think we're drifting afield here. We make this as an additional item, but did you want to say something?
Yes, I would just like to make the statement that we were assured from the president of CSU that our program with extension and 4-H will continue. There's no issue about the position going away. None.
Is there a shortage of qualified candidates available to take this lady's job? Are there qualified candidates out there that,
Yes.
from whom you feel confident?
And this,
you can pick?
what you're seeing, folks, happens in every county probably to a certain extent or more. Every county that has an extension vacancy, extension agents change counties, they move on, they go to other areas, they leave extension, is exactly the same point that we are. Every county, if you need, in this interim, if we need some additional fill-in, we've been promised by CSU that they will help us provide that. We've also been promised that we will do a timely search and screen for the candidate. Now, the first thing that has to happen, and I see George raise his hand back there, but the first thing that has to happen, now that we're at this point, CSU has to write a position description. What does this position entail? And then the normal process is then the commissioners look at that and say, yes, we agree, or no, we want a little more over here, or we want something over here. And then that's published and listed on the websites, and it's circulated among other states. And then if you're interested, there's a certain period you have to apply. Now, we may have people that have already applied for other positions who weren't hired for those positions. If they want to be considered for this position, they just write a letter to CSU and say, I would like to be considered for the Custer County position.
This
So-
is a paid position, right?
Right.
Is a salary?
May I just, this is a partnership, is what it is, with the extension of CSU and our county. And you may not be aware of the fact that our county pays 40% of the extension budget. You may not be aware of that. And we supply the office upstairs. And we also pay the assistant's position.
I think it's very important to know also, excuse me, it's very important to know also, we looked at the position, Robin, who left, as an employee of the county, even though technically it was a partnership, as Commissioner Hood said, there was a sharing of the expenses. And when there becomes a personnel issue on communication, trust, and a lot of things that many of you do not know, do not see. You see her in one aspect and you go, oh, she's wonderful, but you don't see the whole picture. I understand it's easy to jump on the bandwagon on the one issue that you're accustomed to and what you see and the one area you work with her. But if there are issues in this county that we feel that is not in the best interest of all of the citizens, and really it was all of the children is where we were in this, that we felt that a change was absolutely necessary for the betterment of our county. And that is what you elected us to do. If you don't feel we're doing the right job, and I know there are many of you sitting here that just can't wait to get on Facebook and write, oh, they want to do this, they want to do that, without the information that you have. The information on Mr. Squire, there is a lot more that you don't know. In fact, I will say this publicly, I wanted to fire the man because of something he did. And I will tell you that, I'll publicly stand there. Now I'm going to say it because I think these people need to understand there's more than one side to a story. Okay? I'm not going to say what happened, but it was such an egregious violation that I sat in this chair and I said, this man's got to be terminated. My colleagues, especially this one, said, no, he's been here a long time, let's move on. And that's fine. But the bottom line is you do not know the answer. Facebook is not the answer where you should get your information. You want it, come here and ask like this nice gentleman just did.
You're a brave man. You really put yourself out there.
I'm just going to say it as it is.
And I expect no less from you. You're a brave man, and I have to respect you. I have no problem with the job you're doing.
Did you understand what he just said, though? If I had a personal vendetta against Roger, I would not have been in this position.
That's the man who said no to my decision.
We're getting into what we talked about next.
I apologize. I find it
Okay.
distasteful.
George, you're next.
We contacted the CSU Pueblo office, and they informed us that there's many vacancies in 8 Custer county agents across the state, and they take years to fill in the current environment. So apparently we're going to be at the bottom of the heap on the priority list to get filled. And so it could take a long time for us to get another agent.
And it could be done in 2 months. You don't know what it's going to be, George. You're taking the bottom line and adding a supposition to it.
Just what we told, it could take a long time.
And when we apply for a job, if you want to work, I don't know how to say this, if you want to work in Pueblo, or you want to work in Westcliff, or if you want to work in Denver, and there's an opening for the same job in those 3 areas, you would then, the same job, you would pick an area that you wanted to live in, that you wanted to be a part of. And as a result, there are some jobs that go vacant for a while. There's another game to see it.
The bottom line is that there's a lot of openings out there and they can't fill them.
Excuse me if I may proceed, sir. The bottom line is that what is the job open? And CSU has been famous for leaving some of these jobs on the table so they could have salary savings. And I assure you that's not going to happen. And the president of the university assured us that wasn't going to happen. And I don't know how you go any higher than the president of the university. Does that answer where we are?
No, it doesn't. I mean, there's a
Okay,
lot
well,
of
why
openings
don't
that
you-
are very difficult
Why
to
don't,
fill.
why don't you go ahead and take what you think, what the district director said, and if you believe everything he said is exactly right, and that's what it's going to be, well, that's your right.
I mean, it should have been a consideration in the process that you guys followed to have Robin terminated here.
What part do you not understand that it was this Colorado State University? You're an intelligent person, George, I know you are. And we showed you the letters of what we can say, and that was the process. We didn't fire her.
But you asked to have her removed, right? In your letter
No,
of urgency?
we asked that we had problems we had to have corrected.
Well, what,
I think you said you couldn't.
I'm going to stop this discussion, folks. We'll be happy to make this an agenda item if you want to the next meeting. But we've got a lot of other stuff we need to go through, and we've got other people here waiting for reports.
I
If you would like
object,
to-
we're here, we should be heard.
Pardon me?
I object, since we're here, the public should be heard if they have comments to make.
You object that they haven't been heard?
I object that you would stop the public comments. If people are here to make comments, I feel that they should be allowed to say what they wish.
Okay. Our normal position has been for years and years and years, if we have an item come up in the audience discussions, if it takes more than 5 minutes, we schedule it as an agenda item at the meeting. Have other of you seen that policy? Are any of you aware that that's been our policy? John, have you sat through meetings where Lynn sat here and said the same thing?
I thought that was 3 minutes per person.
Well, if it ends up taking undue amount of time. Now, I'll go on for another few minutes. You wanted to say something, sir?
I have a real quick question. I'm not talking about anything in the past, I'm talking about the future. So if I hear Donna and yourself correctly, you're stating unequivocally that we will have an extension office and we will have an extension agent. You can't guarantee the time, but that will happen. It's not going to be under some regional office somewhere
All
else.
three of us will say yes to that
Yes.
answer.
Okay, that's all I needed.
There's something else that you folks need to know. I have almost 30 years of experience with extension. I know how the wheels turn behind the scenes. I know what a squeaky wheel can get done. And I assure you that this is going to be a squeaky wheel. And we're pushing as soon as we can get, and again, they can drag their feet. But we're pushing as soon as we can get a position description, George, from the district director. That starts the process for us to move forward. If they don't get one done for 6 months, well, it doesn't happen. I'm not going to let that happen. Okay? I am very proud of 4-H folks. I have spent a big portion of my career working with young people. And if any of you suggest that I do not have empathy, I do not care about young people, I hope I've changed your mind. 4-H and FFA do an awful lot to get our programs going. I was also involved in bringing FFA to the high school because we didn't have that when I was a kid. I couldn't participate in 4-H because it was basically held here in town. We couldn't afford to drive back and forth. That's not the case now. We didn't have an agent. We shared with Fremont County. And we always got the short end when we got done in terms of time because that was where the majority of the population was. And we will have a competent, qualified agent just as quickly as we can get the wheels of advertising, and you have to advertise for a specific length of time, and then CSU in this process, unless it's changed, I don't think it has, the applicants come in, and then CSU will go through and rank and rate who they feel meets the qualifications for here. And then in the past, they've been sent out then to the commissioners for their input, and then decide collectively between CSU and the commissioners who they want to interview. Then they'll bring the candidates in and do the interviews, and a part of those interviews are conducted by the commissioners in most cases, and in this case I assure you that a part of the interviews are going to be open to the public. I want to have some meet and greets on some of these. So we come down, we have a candidate in town for this, you've got a chance to come down and visit with them. See if you like them, if you don't like them, because they're your agent. But that is a basic process, and then we're done, and then the university will offer a position to the candidate we selected. He may or may not take it. If he turns it down, then they go to the next one on the list and offer it to that candidate. That's the process of hiring at the university and the extension. George?
Well, let me just get this out. I listened to that whole tape from the workshop, and the crux of the matter during that discussion, there was some tension between the 4-H hierarchy and Robin Young over disbursements, and it came to a crescendo with the $4,000 check for the pens there that Robin appropriately stopped payment on based on the opinions from the extension agent and the 4-H
from the district director. His own agent.
I listened to the whole tape, and there was back and forth. There was a lot of communication, some communication issues and stuff like that. And at the end of the meeting, I think it was Bill Noble, went through a kumbaya moment. Okay, we've discussed it all. We can go forward now. We just need some better communication. You made some nice comments about, okay, we can put this to bed now, stuff like that. And so it seemed to me, listening to this thing, that we're going to move forward with Robin. There's no job issue, no threat of her getting fired mentioned at all. And then out of the blue, without Robin having any input, you guys made a decision to go up north and get her terminated here. And I don't know if she had any input in your process or not. So it seems to me that she had no due process in the decision that you guys made to go up there. And the second thing is, I think it was an overreach on your part based on what I heard in that tape to have her terminated. I thought the best thing for her and the county was simply to move forward with a better communications posture between the both of us.
Would either of you care if you're the extension?
Yeah, I think your assumption that that one incident with the check is what precipitated her termination.
But that was all the public information we had, Jay.
But you're making that assumption that that one incident is what created this termination. And the answer is, this has been going on for a long time. This has been an ongoing issue.
What issue, though?
Okay. An issue that we will not discuss because it's a personnel issue. She is a personnel, at the time, she was a personnel of both us and CSU.
Was she invited into the meeting where you guys decided to go up north to defend herself?
May I address
I'm
this?
gonna, just a second, George. I'm gonna let Donna, are you through?
Yeah.
Okay. George, let me just state a fact here. On January 10th, okay, we were sworn in. There was an announcement made as soon as we were sworn in that we wanted to have a staff meeting, which we did, okay? At that meeting, and actually it was stated to Robin by me ahead of time, but I said that we were going to contact the head of CSU and her directors, that we wanted to have conversation, okay? Because over the years, there have been parents that addressed issues with Mr. Noble without any success, okay? So I said, okay, this is the time, we're gonna bring everybody in, okay? The president could not come down here, so the decision was made for us to go up there. I want you to know that that check just happened to happen in that period of time. There were lots of people in that audience that wanted to say something. It's just that that check took precedence of an hour and a half. You'll see by the requests of your reporter, okay, what she asked for. You're going to see what's out there. And that will, I think you'll have a different point of view.
Was she invited to the meeting where you guys decided to go up and complain to the president so she could defend herself?
No, she was not.
And why should she be?
Is that a part of the executive session law? If you're discussing a personnel matter, that person has a right to be in that meeting?
It was, what are you saying, Ms. Bubis?
Pardon?
Going up and talking the way they did was not a public meeting, and Robin Young did not have a right to be at that meeting.
No, I mean before that, Clint, when they decided to go up and make the complaint, which is essentially was a request for termination, a personnel matter. Should she have been invited to that meeting?
All right, let me correct the terminology here that you're using. She wasn't terminated. The request was to replace her. As far as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she is still on the payroll for
Correct.
CSU.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so she hasn't been terminated. They're going to relocate her and find somebody else that we hope would be suitable for this area. So she hadn't been fired. That's I
But
want
she
to make.
wasn't invited to defend herself with you guys when you made the decision to go up there.
I wasn't involved in their decision
She
to go
was
up
not
there.
invited to come in and
I just-
represent
okay.
herself.
I think
We
that
wanted
she
to-
should have been, really.
And that's your opinion. We had the right to go up to speak
No,
to
I
the
know, I
president.
know.
Excuse me. We had a right to talk to the president about what we felt was an issue with our CSU agent. Why you feel that she needed to come in here and defend herself for us going up there to discuss this with him. We didn't go up there to get her fired. We went up there to explain what our problem was. He is the one who suggested we need to make a change. Read the information that your reporter has requested from us under the core And you'll see that we went up to discuss an issue we had with CSU. This was not a termination, and no, she was not invited. And if I had to do it again today, she'd still not be invited because she wasn't being terminated. We were going up to discuss an issue we had with the extension office here.
You're not answering
And we-
the question. The question was prior to you going up.
Well, let him ask it. Why do you have to ask it for him?
Do you object?
What's the question?
I'm asking. Prior to you going up, y'all held an executive session to determine you wanted to go up. At that point, Robin should have legally been invited to attend that meeting.
And what law are you referring to, my friend?
Open meeting law.
It is not in there, I don't believe.
It is. She was not invited to attend that session.
Okay, we have other business. If you want to come on our next meeting, I'll be more than happy, and you can bring whoever you want to. We'll put it on the agenda for additional discussion. I appreciate everybody being here. I want part of you to know that some of the questions we're getting are from some folks who've been posting some very nasty stuff on Facebook. I'm not going to address it anymore, but there's been some things out there that have certainly reached, I thought, beyond what would be a reasonable response.
And for the record, Ann Arthur, a lot of us aren't on Facebook.
No, I'm not, and I appreciate that.
Just don't make that assumption.
Well, I'm not assuming you are. What I'm saying is that I have seen stuff on there that has been very attacking. And I'm certainly not suggesting that you were part of it, that you saw it. But I'll be happy to continue on if we may, please.
I know that you're attacking.
Excuse me, John, what did
statement.
you got 2 minutes.
Take 30 seconds. So I know that you're referring to me on Facebook. I have attended almost every county commissioner meeting for the past year and a half, and I've never once during a county
That's-
extension meeting heard Robin's
I,
problems.
that's not a point of discussion right now. Thank you, you made your statement. We're going to move on.
Is this gonna go on a further agenda item, as a further agenda item?
Sure, if you want,
And
be very happy to. Sure.
If so, what date for people who want to be there?
Well, we're not going to do it tomorrow because we have a full day tomorrow.
I'm just asking.
The next time that would possibly be, we're going to be in Wetmore, but probably the most appropriate time, I would think, would be the meeting we have up here at the end of the month. What do you think?
That's fine.
Because you folks are here, I would assume you'd rather we do something here than do something down the road. Yes, sir? You want to add something back there?
No.
I just saw you kind of chuckling and sharing a joke there. All right,
I have a real quick question, if I may. I'll take 15
please, go ahead.
seconds. Why wasn't the Extension Advisory Board consulted involving the personnel issues?
The advisory board? Would you care to address that?
Yes, for the same reason as I chaired Extension Advisory Board for several years. Advisory Board wasn't even involved when the assistant was addressed upstairs, when she intervened for that.
So that doesn't, I don't think answered my question. Why didn't you?
The advisory
You
board
didn't
was,
feel they were involved, or?
No, this was a personnel issue.
And the
Personnel.
advisory board is for what purpose then?
Supposedly to advise your county extension agent.
So if there were personnel issues at the time,
Well, Mr. Nobles actually said to us is that we don't even need an advisory board. The CSU extension agent has the right to make any decision that
but you
she
had an
wants.
advisory board, an acting advisory board, and
But
so
the
they were
advisory
not.
board has absolutely impotent, had absolutely no authority to do anything. That's based on Mr. Noble's statement.
if I may address, we're really on some quicksand here. I've had people from the advisory board come to me with questions and concerns and issues. And I have met with them individually and early on. I have met with Mr. Noble over the past 2 years, trying to improve some things. And then the issues that come to us, and I wish there were some advisory board members here, but the
There are.
issues,
There are here.
There's two.
Mary is here,
okay?
so is
Roger.
Jordan.
Roger.
Roger.
So what are your thoughts? Mary, you've been on the advisory board for a long time. Would you like to make any comments or thoughts on it?
Yes. I have been on the advisory board for several years here. Been associated with CSU on hiring several different ones of our county agents here. And being on the board, Donna has only been to one advisory meeting, and I can state this for a fact, because the only time I have missed an advisory meeting is one time. I have worked with every one of the county agents that we have had since Lyle was a county agent here. And our time
You want to say something?
After her.
Go ahead, Mary.
has been excellent with every one of the agents here. And I will state that Robin has bent over backwards in this county to have every kind of program that we can possibly have here. She has worked to get grants here for our county. And I will back her up 100%.
Okay. Would you like to say anything, Donna?
Mary, I'd like to know what period of time you're talking about. I'd like to reference that in the last quarter of 2016, there was no meeting, which I brought to her attention. That's when Ms. Cardenas was hired, and advisory was not even told that there was a hiring. And Robin made it a point of having your meetings during my Rotary meetings on Monday, and she was aware of that. So you may laugh all you want, and if you're talking about 2016 as that, I suggest you go back and you look at the minutes of when I...
I think we're getting down beyond where we need to be right now, folks, please.
Can I ask a money question?
Yes, ma'am.
If anybody knows,
Just don't ask for money. You can ask a question.
No, I'm always asking for money. I guess I'm at a point is like, what happens to the $4,000 check? Is that reasonable? And then there's another grant money that's coming in for the Sangre Shooting Club. What happens to? Are you aware that we have a?
They will. They will go right on as they are.
So they will be.
And the money, the 4,000 check, is back to the foundation. It's a foundation.
So that's back to the foundation, and if we do get grant money from Friends of NRA, it'll go to.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, it's for the 4-H. It's a shooting club. Yeah. Okay, so.
And that, I believe, is an NRA grant, isn't it, or something you're getting through NRA, I believe?
Yeah. So that's my only question, is that money will come in,
Yes,
go
ma'am.
back to the shooting club where it's supposed to, or the 4-H foundation, or whatever. That was my question. Thank you.
Okay.
Are we going to make this an official agenda item for March 31?
Tentatively, we'll put it on March 31. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to say it, but we may end up moving it sooner if we can. But that's our next scheduled meeting. Okay, folks? I'm so glad I didn't have any hair before I sat down. I'd have lost it today. All right. Anything else or public comment? Yes, ma'am.
I just have one last one. It sounds to me, and I think I have all of the facts, that Robin probably saved a little bit of misappropriation of funds.
What? Say it again, please. I'm sorry. I just didn't hear.
By stopping payment on the check, the $4,000 check. It sounds to
She
me
probably did.
that she stopped misappropriation of funds, where I would have thought that as being president of the 4-H Foundation for how many years?
Cindy, if you weren't present, you should go back and listen to the tape that was put on. Mr. Noble actually said it was a borderline educational expense. Robin chose not to go.
As far as I'm concerned, what was done under CSU's guidelines, and I fully respect that.
But you agree that it was a possible misappropriation of funds?
I can't agree or disagree, ma'am, because I don't set the policy with the foundation. But with the result of the meeting that we had, and as a district director and the state leader addressed the issues, I'm comfortable with the decision that they made. I think the foundation thought they were doing something to help the youth that they consider. But again, that's a foundation issue, ma'am, and we don't have any we don't have any control over the foundation. But you're entirely correct. If that was, as they laid it out, and as Mr. Noble explained, I certainly agree with where they come from. And we didn't have that prior to that information. Does that answer?
Somewhat.
Well, I agree. If you want me to say, did she stop a misappropriation of funds? According to CSU, yes.
Right.
And I don't have any problem with
That
that.
answers my question.
But we also have had other issues down the road that we can't. We had a fund, folks, out here at the one of the local stores of over $1,000 that never appeared on any of our county accountings until we got digging into it. So I can't go any farther because I'm on that edge of legal quicksand. I hope you appreciate that. But my point being is that there were some things we were looking at. Back to Mary's comment, there's some things that have been good. On the other side, there's some things that have been challenging. And as we went forward, we did what we felt was the appropriate manner of operations. And the thing you have to realize, folks, is that we do not have any authority over her hiring or firing or transfer. That was done by Colorado State University, and I can't address what CSU did. But it is a partnership between the county and CSU. And that was the area with the fair and other issues that we're trying to fix.
I guess back to my original question, I just have a concern for this board's respect for the hierarchy of how things work. That's all. That's my concern.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Real quick, just to clear up some of this, you resigned after as president of 4-H Foundation?
February 6th.
February 6th. Now, was that because you were required to as commissioner?
Correct.
Okay, and there were some other board members that resigned as well? Because unfortunately, we don't have any official minutes yet, as Mr. Katnick pointed out, actually.
Yes.
So there were some other members that resigned as well on that one. And do you know when the next meeting is for the 4-H Foundation, if there is a new one that's been appointed?
Mr. Baker is the president.
Okay.
You can address that with him, but I don't have anything to do.
But you did resign because you felt as county commissioner that was the right thing?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Folks, we really do need to move on. Well, I will assure you that we will have this on our agenda. As we go through things, if we can work it out earlier, we will, but it will definitely be no later than the last meeting of the month. And we will probably see if we can get someplace where we have more room. Okay, John? I appreciate all of your patience. Sometimes I get a little coarse, I apologize. But I appreciate your concerns, and I appreciate your concerns for our county.
Thank
Okay?
you for your time.
All right, any other than extension or robust, any other public comments? Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on. Do we have any minutes to approve? Okay, we have no minutes at this time. Let's go to the commissioner items. What have you folks been involved in since our last meeting?
Oh, we had a building meeting yesterday that we attended down in Wetmore, and we were brought up to speed with regards to where the project is.
On Friday the 3rd, the Custer County Economic Development Council and the firm that contracted with to bring us up to date on the broadband study that's currently underway, and they presented, I felt, a very strong report. It was a report that highlighted 6 potential sites for towers, and this will be refined as we move forward. Now, I don't want anyone to jump to conclusions and say the county is going to get into the tower business. But I also want to remind one of the fellows, they said that we were going to have socialism broadband. I guess we have socialism road construction, road and bridge too. I mean, we used county monies for that. I don't see what the difference is between one or the other because they're providing county services. And another point for you folks that question that, we have the tower up on the hill over here. And that is a repeater tower that was paid for by the county and is still being maintained by the county for folks who cannot get or who don't have satellite. They can put up an antenna and still get, I think, 3 stations from Denver to Colorado Springs in the old antenna manner. And that is maintained by the county. That's a tower we pay. And again, I guess that must be socialism in broadcasting. I made the statement. But anyway, I was very impressed with what we had in the meeting. And then yesterday we did go to Wetmore and met with the, it was a construction meeting. We walked through the Wetmore Community Building. Right now we're probably about, and help me out here, but I think we're still about 50,000 over budget. And that total now is probably approaching, I forgot the numbers, but I think
855.
that's how much?
855.
That we have right now. So we have 855,000 in county monies and grants have gone into the building. With the other 50,000 we're over, we're now up to $900,000 to remodel that old schoolhouse. But it will be very nice, and they're about to finish it up. And the folks in Wetmore are helping with some of the painting and stuff. That concludes my items. Did you have anything you wanted to?
Yeah, well,
I stole your thunder, I'm sorry.
it's okay. I met with early childhood development, and they'll be making a presentation tomorrow that I feel will be excellent for the community. Children 0 to 9 will be getting a lot of help. I met with the recycling folks, and we need to do more recycling. I mean, I think everybody already knows that. I met with the Water Commission, and I'll meet with them again, have a meeting with them tomorrow, no, Wednesday, tomorrow. I have a meeting, no, it's Thursday, I'm sorry. I have a meeting with them Thursday down in Salida, we'll go over that. So I'm staying very busy.
Yes, ma'am.
Who is the early childhood development group that you met with?
It's not an early childhood development group. The state has an early childhood development program that we are trying to implement here. Butch, what's his last name? Garmin? Gameen, thank you. Kind of spearheading that up. I've spoken with Laura Lockhart, Public Health, and it looks like it's going to be very positive. The state will fund this program. It'll be available to any child from 0 to 9 years old. All they have to do is have, obviously, a parent request it. And it's a really excellent program, long overdue here. If you come tomorrow, you'll hear the whole presentation.
Is that the same group that's trying to get some funding for early childhood development through the library people, Robin and Desiree?
In fact, yes. It's a three-pronged study. The financial aspect of it will be handled by the county if the county approves it. No one's approved anything yet. If they do, which means that the finances will, our county will handle the money coming from the state. We'll be hiring an individual to head this up. The reporting and the writing of the information will come from the library. That's where they come in. They're the reporting agent. And then, of course, the board they will have a board, an early childhood development board, and they will actually manage it. So the county's role will be the financial agent. The library will be the writer, granting agent, and then the board of directors will actually run it. So that's where that stands. So yes, it is the same group.
Thank you.
Sure.
And that is on the agenda for tomorrow.
That's on the agenda for tomorrow, yes. Thank you. So if you'd like to come, you'll hear a lot more about it tomorrow. We'd love to have you. I just mentioned that I've been in meetings with them.
They're having a meeting this evening, too.
I'm sorry, ma'am?
They're having a meeting at the
Yeah, I'll be
library
there,
this evening.
5:15 at the library.
Right.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay. That's it. Okay, let's move on. The next item we have is the the attorney item. Excuse me, Counselor.
At our last meeting, we talked about going forward with a possible lighting ordinance for the unincorporated areas of the county. I put together some talking points. I said I'd have them to you sooner, I have copies here for each of you, and you can also get these, electronically from Brenda. She has them, but I don't want to discuss them now. But I had some detailed talking points, and I realized we ought to just keep this very simple and basic. I think we agreed that the next step would be to either have a workshop here or some public meetings and get the word out and invite the public that we need their input on this, and so that we can explain that it's not mandatory for anybody who already has existing lighting, but it is designed to work toward a goal eventually of having dark sky compliant lighting. And I want to emphasize I'm also on the board for dark skies. We had a meeting yesterday and we wanted to make it clear we don't want it called the dark skies ordinance. It was referred to that way. It's not our ordinance. We think it's for the county and for the benefit of the county. And Jim Bradburn, the president, has agreed to be present to address the technical issues about the lighting, things that I'm not really that sharp on anyway. But I would, and he said he'd be very happy to attend these meetings. So if it's your pleasure, maybe we can schedule either a daytime workshop initially or schedule a public meeting at some place like the bowling alley or something, some evening, and make sure that the public knows about it so we can have their input before we attempt to put together any kind of an actual ordinance.
And the proper channel will probably be through planning and zoning, won't it?
Well,
they will.
Planning and zoning needs to be
and then
involved.
They'll be involved and bring it forward to us.
Well, as an ordinance, I mean, they certainly can do it that way. It isn't required that it go through planning and zoning. I mean, I think we're going to accomplish the same thing by having these meetings and getting the input. But if, I certainly was, as an advisory board, I'd like to know what planning and zoning's position, because if we do have it, they're obviously going to be involved in the inspection and enforcement end of it. So we could do it that way. I certainly wanted to have Vic Barnes and any other planning and zoning members involved at every step of the process.
I made them aware that we're discussing this, so they will be on board with it when we get on further with it.
So are you saying to have a workshop first?
We can have a public workshop first to sort of get some broad parameters, and then, but it would be open to the public as well, of course. And we would announce that, and if we have a huge attendance for a workshop, and I hope we do, maybe we can move to another room to do it. But then to have at least one more evening meeting for the public to come, and where we have hammered out some more details as to what we're suggesting we'd like to see in an ordinance, to see what the public response is to it.
Okay. For those of you that may not be up to speed on this, we've had a request that we have a dark sky reserve. Is that the right word?
Yes.
Basically in the county, from the top of the Sangres to the top of the Wets, from the Fremont line to the Wharf-No line. And this is a continuation of the dark skies. We've got a lot of rights we need to protect. We also have some potential for economic growth. I don't know of any other program we've had in Custer County that we've had 5 or 6 or more national publications, television and media, written, printed media that have done articles on it. We've even had people here from Japan. So that potentially can be a generator of income as we have more people come in. Usually the dark skies is a winter event instead of a summer event because it's dark a lot longer. And that helps us fill a hole in our tourism and our recreational industry. Yes, sir.
Could I comment or ask a question in regards to dark skies? And I understand it may be too early that you have not gathered enough data, but do we have any idea of benefit or not economically for our community since the designation of dark skies?
As a result of the dark sky?
Yes, designation. And you don't really have to answer that question at this point in time. You may not have enough data. I can understand that. But certainly, if we have a public input,
May I answer just very briefly?
Certainly.
As being involved in dark skies, and I'm the one who's in charge of the observatory at the cliff.
Yes, sir.
and this is anecdotal information, there hasn't been a study on it yet, but we've had a lot of people coming in specifically requesting reservations, evenings at the observatory that I conduct. I've heard through the local motels and hotels, bed and breakfasts, that they have gotten a number of people that have come in or inquired, expressed an interest. So I think it is drawing tourism. I think as this becomes even more well-known, I think it has potential of attracting a lot of tourism here.
I think it's been very well received as a very positive direction for our county, and I would certainly hope that the county commissioners and board would continue to find some way to support that, and that we could bring that out to make the public aware of what the value is.
I think that's what we, from Dark Skies, now I'm speaking with that hat on, that we want to make sure that people don't know we're trying to force something down their throat they don't want as far as lighting. We hope that we could, over time, convince by education and persuasion that people would get on board with it.
Has done an excellent job of convincing people that that's the direction we should go.
And just one other thing, the Dark Sky Reserve designation, right now the two communities, Westcliff and Silvercliff, earned a Dark Sky designation as communities.
Mm-hmm.
But the International Dark Sky Association has other designations. The Dark Sky Reserve is for a larger area, and we're contemplating it would be tentatively called the Wet Mountain Valley Dark Sky Reserve. But if we can succeed in getting that designation, it would be the first one in the entire country. There are 11 in the world, but none in the United States, and if we could get that, that would be a huge thing for Custer.
And there would be tax money that would be involved in some fashion.
No, the county would not be paying anything.
Not one penny.
Now, Dark Skies can pay for some things. Sangre de Cristo Electric is now on board and working with us in an informal partnership, providing the kind of lighting. If we can convince a lot of people that have the old inefficient mercury vapor lights or the high pressure sodium vapor lights, if we can convince them to switch over by explaining to them they're not going to lose any lighting, they're going to save a lot of money. But the county is not putting any money into it.
Okay, and then so if that is the case, then what would be the county and the board's duty, and what would be their
Probably
job?
jumping the gun on that question, but I could just give it to you real quickly. There would be an ordinance that would be passed that would say that we are a Dark Skies or a compatible community.
Right.
And what it would say is,
I understand it
when
would be
you
a voluntary
the ordinance would say when you replace
something,
an existing light or put a new light up, it needs to meet the Dark Skies criterion.
Okay.
Now, I've been assured by Mr. Bradburn himself that the cost of the bulbs are the same or less. If they are more, then it's very possible, I'm not committing anything,
Sure.
but Dark Skies will supplement that, and also Sangre de Cristo will help with that. So the hope is that it's a zero cost to anybody to change. The luminescence will be equivalent or better, and we will have this designation that will help attract people to the Wet Mountain Valley, which is what we would love to do.
Well, I'm happy to have you involved with it. I think it would be a great direction.
Thank you.
And at this point, I think we're reaching beyond the attorney items.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to steal any of your thunder, but I just wanted, since it was on the table, I thought it was important. There's a
Just one
gentleman
quick
over there.
clarification, you said from the top of the Sangres to the top of the Wets. So that would not include like Wetmore? Is that's so it's basically the valley floor?
That's still an issue
Ish.
for discussion.
Yeah, okay.
One of the problems is the International Dark Sky Association wants a definite a definition of a boundary. If we use the ridgeline of the Wet Mountains, it's never been surveyed. The Sangres have, that's the county line between Saguache County.
Right.
So we're still talking about exactly where the line would be. It may just be a line of longitude, but
It's simple enough, you go by watershed.
well, and we can certainly do that.
You've got a
We'll see
question?
what works.
Somebody want to say something? Yes, sir. Couldn't see you behind it. I'm sorry.
You said that there would not be an economic impact as far as the cost to the county. If this was an ordinance and it was being enforced, where would that money for the enforcement come from then? The
enforcement would be through planning and zoning.
So there would be a potential cost.
No, not a,
Not
I
a
mean,
cost.
as part of the planning and zoning director's duties is to inspect, and it's just part of her job. It wouldn't be any additional cost.
So there's an increased job duty then?
An additional job duty, but
And again, I think we're a little premature here, but we want to be sure we're inclusive. Yes, sir, please.
Thank you. I'm concerned that it seems to be predetermined that we're heading toward an ordinance here. Why not just work on an education program that encourages people to comply with dark skies rather than requiring them to purchase a certain kind of light if they want to install or replace? This seems like an unnecessary ordinance to me.
Well, and you're maybe entirely right. As a matter of record, though, in 2010, I think, or 11, the county commissioners did endorse this and sent letters to each of the power companies, and they agreed to work with them and enforce it. At that time, they didn't take an official board action, and I'm in favor of doing things voluntarily. But at the same time, I don't know where this is going. I'm certainly on the fence right now.
Fair question.
I don't want to undue burden people. At the same time, if we can preserve, that's a factor too. So at this point in time, I can't speak for my colleagues, but I've got to have more information. I have to have more input from the community as to what their thoughts are before I can make a decision.
Your point's well taken. I agree with Chairman that, we need to discuss it further and see what the folks want and why it's necessary or not necessary, and we'll just have that discussion when the time comes. So I think your point's well taken.
More is less sometimes, or less is more, I guess is what I want to say. Less is more. Thank you. All right, anything else, attorney items?
no, that's it.
Okay, we're running way behind here. I see no need for executive session today. Do any of you?
I think we should have one just to, no, I don't think so. To show, I need a little levity, folks, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding, Chairman.
I know you are. All right, we're now ready for old and new business. I apologize for making you gentlemen wait, but we have the Custer County Economic Development Council grant support. And
I'll help you make up a little of your time.
Good morning, sir. Good to see you again.
Sure. Yeah, last time I told you we'd see you quarterly. I broke that promise, so but won't be long. Again, thank you for this time to review and preview some items that Custer County Economic Development is doing. Thank you all for making yourselves available last week. I think you agree that secondhand information from that briefing is not near as good as sitting there and getting it from our consultants. To clarify, the towers that the chairman talked about would be just a tower. The any signals, whether we did broadband or cell phone service, would be done. The equipment, the installation and operation would be done by the companies that we're used to and could work out contracts with, just like the tower east of Silver Cliff. And that's all I've got as far as the Friday. The one thing is Phase 4, the final report, will be presented on or about March 24th. We'll confirm the date on that. And that will summarize all the information that has been accumulated on this, to include refinement of some prices and the priorities of the towers. Different subject. Be aware that Custer County Economic Development Corporation submitted a grant request on the 27th of February to the Office of Economic Development and International Trade to support a community action plan with a specific intent to support a strategic economic development strategic plan and implementation instructions. This is another one where whether them providing money they're going to use some of their office resources, and it's a small program. I think their total budget is like $40,000 for a number of counties. The good news is we'll know the 10th of this month as to whether or not we're a selectee on that or not. And if we aren't, then we will turn around and try to pursue that same plan through a DOLA grant that the window's open on that. The next meeting of our Custer County Trails Initiative will be conducted on the 28th of March from 5 to 7 p.m. in the community room of the West Custer County Library. The item of discussion will be town trails, and the presentation will be by staff members of the San Isabel Land Protection Trust. I think this is the next to the last information gathering session. We're trying to work with getting CDOT to come and talk because we've got some issues with our ATV activities and our bike activities as it relates to the state highways, and basically that'll be an opportunity for us to vent those. We may have to ask for some help at the state level for that kind of decision stuff, but that's the current plan. Also, Meredith Marshall, who's a senior regional manager for OEDIT, and Danielle Lindrith, the regional coordinator and analyst for OEDIT, plan to attend our March 28th meeting. And as far as I know, that will be the first time that they will have been to the county. Coincidentally, Meredith is also the manager of the Community Action Plan program. So, and I found her an easy person to work with, and I think it's it's good for them to come down and see our operation. And I've invited that if they want to come down and spend a little more time, then we can talk to them about some of our other initiatives that, by virtue of their office, they may or may not know. So that's all I have. Do you all have any questions?
Wow.
I have never heard you speak less.
You were not at the Wet Mountain Valley Community Foundation as far as the acceptance. But
I just want to say, aside from the broadband, you're involved in so many other things that help our community, and I'd really like to thank both of you for that.
A couple of numbers I picked up, I'm sure you've got these, but for the rest of the public, we have 426 miles of trails in Custer County. It's ironic, but 213 of those miles are motorized and 213 are non-motorized. And of the 213 non-motorized, I think 119 miles are in wilderness. Those are numbers that I
would you
got
please
before,
give me
so-
those numbers so I don't have to look them up?
Yeah, but that, or give Jeff, because Jeff just finished the report. Jeff Uther, of
Oh,
course,
okay.
it was just
That's what
finished
he.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
But I thought it was interesting that we had identical splits between the non-motorized and motorized. But thank you for the trail stuff, and we appreciate it.
Take a 5-minute break.
This time I will declare a 5-minute recess. I think we've all been sitting here. Need to stretch just a moment. It will only be 5 minutes.
Okay.
We'll reconvene the Board of County Commissioner meeting at, what is that, 10:41? The next item on the agenda will be the underfunded courthouse request for proposals. And help me, Brenda, that deadline was the 3rd?
Yes.
Okay. And I have in my packet 3 proposals that we have received. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I think we probably should, what's your preference? I thought we'd at least mention the 3 that we've received so we've got a matter of public record.
I think that'd be appropriate.
Okay, the first one we have is we received a response from Anderson Hollis Architects out of Golden. We've received a response proposal from Ben White Architecture from Crested Butte, Colorado. And we have received a proposal from Steve Wiedner of Wiedner and Associates LLC out of Pueblo, and Mr. Wiedner is in the audience today. Do you have any preferences? At this point in time, my suggestion is that we are now in receipt of these. We'll want to go through them and review them. What manner would you like to do that?
I just want to mention that I tried to reach Mr. Wells Squire without success. I'm not sure if you saw that email that came to all three of us. So the questions from our last meeting were not addressed, and we need to talk about the surveyor part. Clint actually addressed what the expectations are with our county surveyor. So we may have to look at putting another RFP out to have the surveying done.
I don't see any issue on the surveying. As I read the law, it's a county land, and wouldn't that fit as part of our county business, siting the building?
I would prefer that we discuss it with our county surveyor. My understanding is it goes beyond the scope of what he's required to do, and that he would expect to be compensated additionally for it. I mean, certainly authorize him to go ahead and do it, but he'd want to be compensated for
I think the primary purpose at this point in time is that we have acknowledged the proposals.
Okay.
And we will proceed either via workshops or commissioner meeting as we go through.
Yeah, I would suggest a workshop for discussion.
Okay. But
Agree.
Schedule a workshop?
I would say let's even schedule it now if we can, and for another week or two out, if that's okay with you. I hate to put it on the burner. I'd like to get moving, if you're acceptable with that, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I can do it either the 14th or the 17th, or we do it in the morning. But I've got a meeting on Monday morning with Kathy Garcia from Senator Gardner's office, and then on the 15th we do it in the morning, but we have an E911 meeting at 3:30 in the afternoon, and then on the 16th we've got a Middle Arkansas Wildfire Protection meeting.
How does the 20th look for you? I'm going to be very selfish right now. My daughter will be here for spring break next week, and the fewer I go to, the more I can ski.
Donna, what would be a good...
I don't have my calendar with me, but I think right now the 20th, I'm okay.
Let's schedule it to 20th.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What time, 9?
Sounds great to me.
Can you take notes of that for us? Okay. If it would... I'm trying to think how to handle this one. Counselor, is there any problem if we have Mr. Wiedner say a few months? He's here in the audience. If he wants to make any remarks, is that inappropriate or appropriate?
No, it's fine. He can certainly speak.
Okay. Would you like to step up and meet the rest of our board and so forth here?
Steve. Nice to meet you, sir.
That's your leader.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Could you spell your name for me, please?
Steve Widener, W-E-I-D-N-E-R.
Thank you.
I just came to answer any of your questions. I didn't really come to give a presentation, but we're a firm in Pueblo, and it's myself and another architect, and we have 3 draftsman staff. One of those persons is our IT person, which you always have to have in our business, especially because AutoCAD is always changing or going down or doing something, so it's great to have that IT person. We're not a specialized company. We do school work, we do commercial work, retail work, restaurants, starting the construction on a center for autism in Pueblo West right now, which is a very specialized field that is still being explored. Working on a vision center, so we just kind of take on whatever comes out there. And Southern Colorado, we basically work for out to this direction. I have worked in Monte Vista. We work in La Junta, Lamar. So 2 hours every direction pretty much is our normal area that we handle. We don't go to Colorado Springs a lot. There's a lot of architects up there. We prefer they didn't come to Pueblo, but they still do. But Southern Colorado is mostly our region, so that's where we pretty much tailor our business to. But
have you done any projects similar to the one that we've requested here?
Well, there's really a remodel like this is not too specialized. What we're looking at here is the addition of the holding cells, and we deal we're doing security projects all the time, whether schools, universities. We're always handling security issues, and so that's becoming a kind of almost a common thing in a lot of different industries right now. So the rest of it is about space planning, functionality, how that's going to work, and then the aesthetics on the exterior. You have kind of 3 buildings here put together, so it'll be interesting how we tie that all together. But everything's a challenge, and we always look forward to that. So, but we're close by. It takes me an hour to get up here, and we always see that as an advantage. And
I guess asking you to do it pro bono would be inappropriate, right?
Probably. It's a good try.
This is getting in the weeds just a little bit, but I see you proposed the $500 for reimbursable expenses, and the other inclusions are included in this 141 total.
Yes. You also see we have the geotech survey and report, and also the land survey. Yeah, also included in our fee. So those things would just be part of it. We need both of those to complete our process, to know exactly where your boundaries are, and also know what kind of soils we're dealing with, because that's always a tricky thing anymore. And
do you feel you had adequate information from the report we sent to you to do your work to start this out?
Yeah, there is a lot of good information there. We would come out and we would do a site audit ourselves and do some field measuring, because we don't have access to the drawings and things. So we would have to construct our own as-built drawings.
No, but you had to, in order to compile as request.
Yeah, it was very.
You felt you had adequate information.
Yes, and I talked to Brenda a little bit, and found out that basically what we're dealing with here, it sounds like, is court issues, is what we kind of have to make sure that we spend the money on, so don't get sidetracked by some of the other ADA requirements that may be in the report, but we're not really handling everything that's in there. So.
And if we move forward, you don't have any problem with us speaking to references, make some site visits, see the kind of work that we can expect?
No problem. No, I think we listed several references in the back. Yeah, and you can contact any of those people.
Do you have any that you left off intentionally because you don't want us to contact?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
I didn't expect you to say yes. I've heard people tell you, you might want to contact so-and-so.
I've never had a dissatisfied client that I know of.
That I like to hear.
So been doing this for a long time.
So if I'm not interviewing you for the road boss job, but if I was, why should I pick you as opposed to someone else? That was one of our questions.
I suspect you're reaching me all where we need to right now.
Just need to go to executive session.
Okay.
Donna?
No, I thank you for taking the time to come down here.
You came up here to see us. That goes a long way.
Certainly welcome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Was this your first visit to the building, or were you to come up while you were working on your proposals?
No, I did not come up.
This is the first.
I was just going through the pictures and the plans and things like that. Okay. But if I'd have brought my checkbook, I'd have paid property taxes. I have property in Aspen Acres that I owe taxes on.
Oh, way over there.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I don't have a cabin on it yet, but I have the land. So. But I never thought I should have just brought it here.
Is it mitigated? Don't have to answer that. I'm just suggesting it, because we do have a very high fire risk.
Yeah, but why what?
Fire risk?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Aspen Acres is one of the areas that could be targeted.
Yeah, I know there's some cabins there built really close, right in the timbers and everything. And since I don't have a cabin there yet, but mine would be up in the timbers is where it's at. So.
Want to
Okay.
But anyway, if you have some other questions while you're going through our proposal, feel free to call us.
Okay.
You know, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you for
Appreciate
coming
it.
up.
Meet you, sir. Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Gateway to Success, use of the annex for DUI treatment classes.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm Mike Rourke. I'm the Chief Probation Officer for the 11th District.
Hi, Jay Prince. Nice to meet you.
Oh, Mike.
Nice to meet you. What's your last name?
It's O'Rourke, O apostrophe, capital R, O-U, R-K-E.
Thank you.
So of course our district is Fremont, Custer, Chaffey, and Park counties, so we cover a large area. I've got a staff of about 28. You know, I'm pleased to say that we actually have kind of a part-time committed staff here now that is working upstairs and is here a couple days a week. Whereas before we used to have to kind of shuttle somebody from Fremont County to Custer, and it just never felt like there was a better commitment from our district. And I've been chief for 7 years. One of the goals on there was to try to reach out more to particularly Custer and Park counties who sometimes don't get the full attention that they need. So I think I'm here kind of to represent Gateway to Success, which is an agency, a licensed agency out of Canyon City, Colorado. What had transpired is we used to have an agency by the name of Rocky Mountain Behavioral Health. They had worked out of Canyon City for several years, came up and had received permission to use the annex, to provide treatment for our DUI, ed and treatment classes. Their board had made a recent decision to pull out of Custer County based on just some changes at the executive director level, but they've gone through some financial restructuring, so they didn't, even though the use of the annex is no cost to them, there was still a cost associated with their clinician, so they didn't feel it was a lucrative endeavor for them to continue to send somebody up here for treatment. Of course, that prompted probation to be in a little bit of a scramble mode. We have, generally speaking, anywhere from 5 to a dozen DUI clients in need, and when they don't have a license, they rely on somebody else to get back and forth to Canyon City, or I guess some would opt to maybe go to Pueblo or even Salida for treatment. But as I said in my email, it's always nice if we can provide treatment here in the local community. So I'm here basically to answer any questions that the board has and to ask for ongoing authorization to allow an agency to use the annex building. I've been in contact with Tim Schwartz to connect those two agencies. I think we can make it work. On Fridays, again, one of the reasons that I ask for the ongoing support of the county is in the years that we haven't had an available space for a provider to come up, they just don't want to come. Now, recently, the good news is Solvista, which is a mental health provider, has purchased a downtown building, so mental health clients that are in need will be served. But unfortunately, on the substance abuse side of things, we don't always have that provider that's willing to. If you talk about those small numbers, which is a good problem to have in a community, it isn't explosive yet. It just isn't a lucrative thing to think about a lease that's probably anywhere from I don't know what lease prices are up here, but if you included the lease in their treatment delivery, most of them don't want to do it, and so we haven't had those services. So
I think what we've done in the past, see, our annex is, the Veteran Service Officer uses most of it, and we are developing a tremendous number of veterans who are receiving services over there. But basically, the facility has been used on Monday through Thursday, and then Friday the VSO uses that for travel to go out and visit clients and so forth. And that was our reason for suggesting on Friday. Thursday wouldn't work because the area that you would be using is where normally the veteran clients will congregate.
Gotcha.
And I certainly don't want to diminish their opportunities in any way. But the protocol has been, when you want to use it, there's a calendar over there that you write down on the calendar that you're going to be there.
Right.
It's just kind of, if it's open, people use it, and if it's not. So I would suggest, how long are you looking at, how many hours on Friday, or what time on Friday?
Typically, I can't answer those questions for Gateway. I know that they did respond and said that Friday would work for them. And so it's typically a 2-hour window for either education and or treatment. And so if they were doing ed first and then treatment, it probably wouldn't exceed 3.5, 4 hours of use. And they try to make that a time when, again, if a client would be employed, that they can still make it. So it's generally later, afternoon, early evening classes, and then they would be in and out.
I guess my question is, if you've been working with Tim, how would you have access to that building if he wasn't there? You're going to need to have access to the building.
I think that's what had happened in the past. I can't speak to it. I know prior to Rocky Mountain Behavioral Health, there was an agency called Adult Youth Treatment that had made arrangements to use the annex, and I think they did have their own keys. So if it was just the issuing of a key.
Mike, help us out.
I can add a comment. The sheriff's office has a set of keys to that building. So we had a list of people with previous board of people authorized to use the building. They're on the list. So when they come up, they can go right to the dispatch window, get a set of keys, and then they check the keys back in.
You're entirely right, because that way our thoughts were we have control of the key, we know where it is.
Right. We're not
it's not floating around,
keys,
and it's easy to access.
Just check them in and out. So that's how we've been doing it in the past.
Do you want a motion?
Well, sure, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to move that we allow Gateway to Success to use the annex on a coordinated basis with Tim Schwartz to make sure that the timing fits, recognizing that the VSO would have precedent if they needed it for whatever reason. But I commend you for what you're doing, and I would like to make a motion that with coordination and the key through the sheriff's office, that we accept them into the annex.
Would you add on Fridays?
And on Fridays. I kind of left it open because maybe there was a time when Schwartz was out and they could, work out, but if Fridays is the right time, that's fine.
Great.
I think if we have a definite time that they're going to be there, it makes it a little easier to plan.
We'll make it Fridays then.
Okay, I'll second the motion as stated.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? The only discussion I had earlier, when we talked about this, the Gateway to Success, is that a nonprofit?
They're actually a for-profit agency, and so, but I know they're for-profit, but they are, I forget what the second piece of their licensing is, because they're a treatment agency, through OBH. I wish I could answer that better than what I'm saying.
And in your position as the probation person, this activity is a required activity from the courts.
Correct.
And that would be no different than providing detention or anything else for that type of activity? Is that a fair statement?
It's customary.
So therefore, in this case, even though this is a for-profit, we're meeting our obligation to provide sources for treatment from the court system. Is that
right?
Is that a fair statement?
Right. I think it is, and I think I'd just like to throw in, if I can, recognizing that the court may withhold someone's driver's license because of the DUI. So if we don't have it up here, they're really in a bind. So whether it's for-profit or not, it really serves our community well, in my opinion.
The problem I had initially was that we're using county property at no rent for a for-profit group. And I think we have to emphasize it's the court's side of it that we're supporting. That we're not in the business of providing a for-profit with county space.
Right.
And I would say that, again, the probation clients that'll attend, our court order, typically it's going to be Judge Hunter now that is ordering those treatment.
At this time, I'll call for the question. Is there any other audience discussion? I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Thank you very much.
Appreciate
for being
it.
here.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you. Appreciate you coming out.
All right.
Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
We are only an hour and a half behind schedule. But the next on our list, we'll go into our staff reports, is public health.
Tell us you hired a nurse.
I was just going to ask you if we have any applications.
I'm only aware of one.
Only aware of one.
I understand there was an issue with getting this out to our state site, so there was a delay in time.
Yeah, and it has been on the state site for at least a couple of weeks now, I noticed. I
Dawn
mean, I've
extended
seen
the
it.
deadline for applications.
Right.
Okay.
I think we're moving.
Okay, well, I hope we get
Um,
some soon.
I commend you on the report. I don't see any change the way you did than what it's been doing.
Well-
So, well done.
So, you know, it isn't my desire. I mean, I don't want to be the director, and I don't even want to work as much as I'm working, but I care about our office. I care about our county. I'm trying to hold things together. I appreciated, Jay came over and I showed him our facility and talked through some of the various areas, and I would love to have all of you come. I particularly need to spend some time with you on our immunization program. More detail than I can do here, and I think it might be helpful when it comes to hiring someone if you get a little broader overview. So I don't know how full your schedules are and when you could find time to do that, but I will try to come in at whatever time would work for you for just a brief. I mean, it doesn't have to be long.
Hour.
Yeah. I would really like that if you're able to.
We'll get it scheduled.
Okay.
When are you there?
Well, that doesn't really matter at this point.
Okay.
And sometimes when I'm there, I'm doing a lot of webinars and trainings and
She's there.
things.
She's busy.
So yeah, it's almost better to come in on my day off, really. And I do have a calendar in front of me, so if you feel like you could make that decision now, great. If you don't, you can text me, email me.
I may have to text you.
That's okay. So I just wanted to highlight a few things from the report. That our MRC nurse, Jan Hedden, is really being a help to me because she's taking this share center on the first Friday of the month. She's getting a good response. She's gaining trust from people there and doing blood pressures and giving information. And then it was great. Lynette was able to do another class on the 24th, and we will call her again if we get requests. And we keep a running list of people who want it, and then when we get enough people, we'll call her. We continue to give out the radon kits. Ted, our MRC unit coordinator, is being a big help to kind of hold that whole thing together for us. Flu kind of peaked, still there, but we have I would say in the last 2 weeks I haven't given any more vaccines, and I don't think they're seeing the numbers at the clinic that they were. The second page is on EPR, and that is the area that I feel the least qualified in, and it's one of our most important areas. And so I did go to the Healthcare Coalition meeting, and we did this tabletop that is similar to what's going to happen in June. We have this huge statewide exercise that public health is doing all over the state. The CES folks agreed to meet that day instead of their regularly scheduled day to play in the exercise with me. The scenario is going to be it's a novel respiratory disease that hits the whole state, and how do we get the antibiotics out to everyone, and how do we distribute them in our county? And that's called a pod, a point of distribution, and we have a plan for that. And we're not going to actually open a pod here for this exercise, but we're going to do the Emergency Operations Center, do all the communication, messaging, how we would coordinate. And then our MRC is going to go down and help the Pueblo West pod so we see how it all goes. So I feel like it's so valuable that we have to do it. We have to do it or we won't continue to get our money, which I think is really important. So,
And EPR stands for what?
Emergency Preparedness.
I think Jackie's probably wanting to ask that.
Okay. This is a huge part of this job, and what my feeling is, looking at the last few years in our county, we've actually had emergencies. We've had more than one fire. We have the potential for flooding now. We have had electricity out and blowdowns and all that stuff. And so this, I think, is going to continue to be a huge part of this job function. So that when we do interview someone, I think it's important that they have a heart for it, that they're willing to learn it if they don't already know it, that they understand that while we're smaller and we can't do things like some of these big regions, but we still have to be prepared and we still have to know how to serve everyone. 9 Health Fair is really where our focus is right now because it's April 8th. And
Do you have your volunteers in
we
place?
really do. We have our volunteers in place. But I was told by our medical director that it is a tradition that the commissioners do at least a greeting job. And I think you're already signed up for something. So can you guys, can I sign you up to be there and to greet and to...
I'll be there just like last 2 years.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
And normally what we've done is somebody kind of wanders, and sometimes there's 2 of us at the front door, and sometimes there's just 1 of us, depending how busy it is.
Yeah. We'll be happy to have your flexibility should some big hole arise. But otherwise, it's really just nice to help people at the door, show them which direction to go, talk to them, see why they're there, see if they appreciate this. This, again, I don't know how other places do it. A lot of entities, it isn't public health that puts on their 9 Health Fair. They have like a committee. They get somebody interested who wants to do it, and they do it. It's traditionally been done by us. It's a huge job. Gail always thought, and I agree with her, that it is part of emergency preparedness here, because if we can organize this many volunteers and we can make this thing run, then when we have a real emergency, we're already prepared to do it. And the public seems to really like this health fair.
And that starts at 9?
7.
No,
7 to noon.
Yeah, it's
Oh, it's right here.
very early.
Right here.
I'll be there at 5.
I knew it was cold when I
That's
started
what
opening
Mary
that door
Ellen said.
last
I had
year.
to be there. I was cleaning off.
Well, I'm very grateful that Mary Ellen stepped up. We just have so many great volunteers, and they're all really managing their areas. So I'm sure it will be a success.
Do you keep a database of your volunteers?
Yeah. So and let me see. I'm going to get to that in just a second. Carmeline, I just cannot say enough about her. And for you guys, we hadn't had a school nurse for several years. We finally got a superintendent who recognized the need, but the funds weren't there for getting anybody who was willing to come do the job. So the commissioner said, we'll have this person work 1 day a week for public health, and we'll kick in that extra money. And I can't tell you how much. I'm not even going there, but I know that it was enough to get us a great applicant, and she is fantastic. So she's done a lot at the school, if you can read what she's done. And then working with us, she was able to complete our Ebola deliverables on that grant. She rewrote the communication plan and the emergency plan. And I don't remember what else, but she's just been a huge help to us in this transition time, and she's excellent. And then under additional information, I just said that Rhonda, who is our administrative assistant, she is way more than that. She's really holding the office together because she does work 4 days a week, whereas I don't. She does all of our grants, and she's tremendously organized. And if anything you need to know about where do we get this money from and how does it get utilized and who do you invoice, she is your go-to person, and she is excellent. So I just appreciate her, and she is also the primary organizer of the health fair. So all that database, everything that she has, she is the brains behind that. So anyway, and that's how I ended it, was just that I'd love to give you a tour over there and talk to you just about a few things that might be helpful when and if we hopefully get enough applicants to find someone, and just for some things that might be coming up in the future that you might need to know about.
I think we've got an opportunity with the extended deadline for applications. Hopefully we'll get some in from state. I don't make any comments on the ones we've received so far, but I'm optimistic.
Okay, good.
So why do you feel, let me ask a question this way. Do you feel that we're having difficulty attracting someone for that position? And if so, what can we do to help make it better?
Yeah, I know, I thought about that.
We talked about that when we met.
A little bit, yeah. Well, Carmeline and I helped revise things a little because, in the past everybody said you have to have a nurse, and is it ideal? No. Yes, I'd love to have a nurse. I think nurses are great, and I think that a lot of some of the public would be inconvenienced by not having a nurse, because then the nursing functions like immunization or TB testing or whatever, they wouldn't be available 4 days a week like they were when Gail or Donna were there. It would be, I'm sorry, you'll have to make an appointment. Beth only works these days, whatever, or whoever person hires after me. But, so it would be some inconvenience. But the truth is that if you have somebody who is highly qualified, who understands the umbrella of public health, or maybe even has expertise in this emergency preparedness, that might be easier for them to hire out some of the other jobs than it is. So we changed that to not require them to have an active nursing license. And again, we'll have to look at the applicants. But I feel like, there are other people who could do the job.
We have people in the community we could bring in on a part-time basis to cover the immunizations.
Possibly. Yeah. It is a big program. It does take a lot of none of it is simple, believe me.
The other thing I see in the position though is that this person has to be an administrator, has to be a public relations person, has to be able to close a deal on grants, and I just see a whole lot of administrative efforts that are very important.
It's very administrative heavy, and there are definitely things falling through the cracks right now because I can't possibly do all of them. And there's the Office of Personnel, OPPI, Planning and Partnership, that's what it's called, Office of Planning and Partnership, does give money for a 5-year cycle. We're supposed to be doing an assessment of our county, and then we're supposed to be coming up with a new 5-year plan, because I think the current one we're under ends in 2018. So we're always supposed to be into this phase. Well, that's not going to be happening, and it's not going to be happening until someone new comes and does it.
What's the deadline on that?
Well,
we left it open.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, deadline on the
ongoing. You have to.
Yeah, I could.
Reports and stuff. Is it kind of an end of the year thing or something?
I really couldn't tell you when the assessment phase is supposed to be over, and then you're supposed to. And in the past, they've brought people at the School of Public Health down to help do some of this work, but
we'll get
that takes coordinating, and you have to kind of know where you're starting from. And it kind of segues perfectly with a new director, because part of what they do is they go and they meet with the sheriff, and they meet with social service, they meet with all the people and say, what do you see? Is drug dependence a problem here? Is alcoholism a problem here? Is obesity a problem here? Is hunger? Where do you see the needs? And then they do other things, community surveys, different things, and then the people that do the data up there at the School of Public Health help put all the numbers together and help you develop the plan. And it was the last plan that they focused on, that where she spent money to get the kiosk for Weigh and Win, where she started the Cooking Matters program to help people learn to cook and learn to cook healthfully on a budget. So those programs, need some watering, and I don't have time to water them right now. But I don't know what the next 5-year direction will be. I couldn't tell you that right now.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Are we offering enough money?
Well,
you and I talked about that. That was a real concern.
I know that anyone who is in public health will always say, I'm not in this for the money. It's something that they have a passion for and all that. But certainly directors of public health in other places make really decent money, and I don't know. You guys have a budget, and they based it on Gail's salary, and whoever walks in the door, I don't know what they'll be expecting. I don't know. I just couldn't say.
At this time is probably premature.
Yeah.
We need to look at what our resources are and see if we can
Is
track
it
them.
possible to somehow joint venture with the clinic? Is there any way we could do something with that? I know we discussed that also, and we kind of left it open.
I'm not really seeing that.
I don't think that's realistic. They have similar missions, but they're separate.
But they are separate. Absolutely. And I was thinking of something when you said that. you know what, here's the other part of the problem is, if you pay a director more, then there's even less money to hire out any of the other things.
Sure.
You already know, I think, that environmental health is farmed out to another county even to do our restaurant inspections and all that kind of stuff. So in a bigger county with bigger funds, they have a whole agency, there's all these different people. Being the director is not as difficult. Here, the director is actually doing a lot of the work. So we'll have to face that when it comes. But any other questions?
No.
No. Will you find a time?
Let us know when your days off are so we can schedule that time.
Well, no. Like I said, it might be easier. I probably could have some time tomorrow. I work Thursday, and later or mid-afternoon I might have some time. I don't work Friday. I'm going in though, because Carmelina, they've changed the whole immunization program. We used to have to do benchmarking for the state in May. Now it has to be done by March 31st, of course, ahead of the health fair. So we're going to work on that in the afternoon. But I could come in the morning on Friday. Okay. And then next week, I have it different multiple days. Okay. You guys tell me, because I'll make it work.
I don't know what your schedules are, but I could probably do it Friday morning. We can't Thursday because we have. You're tied up Friday
morning.
Okay.
You mean of this week?
He just said he can't.
Well, I'm tied up Friday and Saturday because of our recovery stuff, yeah. We got a meeting here at 2 o'clock on the fire.
Okay. Next week?
Monday the 13th.
Only in the afternoon. I've got a meeting with Kathy Garcia in the morning.
I'm actually there on the 13th, and I think the afternoon's pretty free. Okay. So
I can do it in the afternoon.
So you guys tell me what time works for you.
2?
2.
How about 2?
2 o'clock works.
Fabulous.
What time?
2.
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll talk more then.
I recognize you're doing double, triple duty right now. Thank you for doing that.
Well,
for the community.
It is. I'm good. Like I said. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Clint.
Thank you.
Take care now.
Good, how are you?
Do we have Tim waiting?
I can't find Tim, so I assume he has a client.
We'll just continue on then.
Yeah, I got Road and Bridge here, so we can.
Let's grab him a chair and let him run. Come in, guys. Welcome.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good. I'm doing
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's up, gang?
It's still morning.
It is.
It's still morning.
Seems like it's Friday.
I know, it does.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. How are you?
Charge onward.
How are you?
Good.
Where do you guys want to start? Anywhere?
Pardon me?
Where do you want to start? Just anywhere?
Wherever you'd like.
Well, I wanted to go over our wages with, in fact, I'll give you each one of these handouts. This is something that I've kind of generated that explains to the commissioners where we're at as far as wages with our employees. And one of the first things I noticed when I come on board is I feel like we're some of the lower, I mean, the operators that have been working like 3 years or less, they're really paid a lot lower than what I think they should be. And what I've done is, on that first page, in column 1A, it shows where everybody's wages are at hourly. And if you'll notice, like second from the bottom, James Reynolds, for instance, he's at $14.56, and I think this day and age that's pretty low for an hourly wage for what these guys are responsible for. And anyway, my suggestion is column 1B. The yellow highlighted individuals, employees, are I think the ones that probably should come up a little bit as far as their wages. And if you look at the bottom right, it shows where our Wetmore operators are as far as their hourly wages, and you can see the big difference. And I think the employees realize that there's a tremendous gap between what the Wetmore individuals are getting paid and what they're getting paid, and they're good employees. I mean, I speak pretty highly of all of them because they do a good job, and I'd like to narrow that gap a little bit and compensate them for the what they provide us with as far as their services. And it reflects, what it would do to our budget annually, which on the bottom left you can see where we're at as far as current payroll at $594 for the year. And if we did jump these wages for the individuals highlighted in yellow, it would bring our payroll up to the $624. And then if we added an operator, which we could use, it would bring our payroll up to $658. And our salaries right now, what we're budgeted for is $719. So even if we add one operator, we're still going to have a surplus at the end of the year of approximately $60,000. So we're in pretty good shape, even if we do up the wages of some of these operators and one mechanic. And on the second page, I've even added our secretary to that wage increase, based on what she does and how important she is to the Road and Bridge Department. I wouldn't mind trying to get hers up just a little bit. And on this third page,
just a second, Gary, on the second page, we have a 2017 budget of salaries. Is that just for these two people?
Yeah, they're separated out. They're a different line.
That's fine. That's fine.
And that's why they're on a separate page like they are.
So even though we'd be over 1,500, we're still under our total budget
for salaries.
It's just a matter of moving things around at the end of the year for the accounts.
It would show negative on this one for Barbie and the cleaning person, but we've got a surplus on the other one, so it's actually budgeted in, and so we'd still be in really good shape. And on that third page, this is something. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, on Barbie as an example, we have 6 months of service. But how many years was she here before?
We had her about 4, 5 years.
So we have someone that would actually have a lot more experience, and we're paying her as if she was a 6 month employee.
Right. Yeah, that's how I can justify that, is because of her past years with the Road and Bridge Department.
Okay, go ahead.
And then on that third page, this is what our pay scale would be. I mean, this is what I would suggest. Like a new employee would be at $16 an hour versus $14.04 right now. And what they would be is a Category 1, and that would be our starting pay. And then after 6 months, they would automatically jump up to the Category 2, which would be $16.50. And that's where James Reynolds would be if we bumped his wages up a little bit. And then the Category in 3 and 4 are just based, what I'd like to do is just initiate those raises on the discretion of the Road and Bridge supervisor, based on their experience and what they bring to the department, how quickly they go up to the top pay, which is Category 4. And this is where those individuals would be right now based on their years of experience and various things. Now, like Mike Benoit and Dennis Mowry, they're the ones that's been there the longest as far as equipment operators, with the exception of the Wetmore operators. And their pay reflects, that 1838 reflects a 5% longevity pay on top of the 1750. That's how I've come up with that number.
I was wondering if you put that.
Yeah, that's what it is. So anyway, this is something that we used where I came from, and it worked really well. I mean, it was in black and white what the employees would get, based on how long they've been with the department, up to the top pay, which is Category 4. So,
could you estimate, or do you have any idea what the benefits, the increased cost of the benefits would be if we went along with your 1B column?
No, I don't have those numbers. Those are something that I'd have to get from Donna.
From Donna.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how that would impact general fund and so.
It'll also impact the workers' comp.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to all the benefits.
Yeah, a certain amount.
So we probably need to have all those figures for an evaluation, but at least I do.
Well-
Kind of need to see those.
Gary and I visited yesterday evening on this one, and I think this is something, and we were visiting earlier about countywide. We may need to look at something in the other offices and so forth. We've got some kind of a standardization. But the problem I have with this is that right now, I'll just pick on Scott. We're paying a man $14.89 an hour to run a $300,000 machine. And his skills are worth more than that.
Well, yeah, in the wintertime, we call these guys in at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they might work 12, 14 hours days. You know, it varies depending on the snowfall we get, but I feel like they're worth considerably more than what they're getting.
What's your thoughts, Roger?
Yeah, I agree. Gary and I visited too. He showed me that and we went over it. And I agree. I like the way he's broken it out. And they're probably not 300,000 anymore. Those
probably
they were 280 on those 2 deers we bought, and that was in 2008. So been a substantial increase for them, but
it just seems like they're getting underpaid for the services they provide in the recreation department and the
I
community.
totally agree with you. I would just like to have the whole picture
Sure.
for us to.
Well, yeah, I can get that for you.
I think what I would like to do, Donna, if it makes sense, is to take this and go forward and try to figure the benefits into it, the workman's comp costs, and see where we are. And I would like to try to maybe do something by the end of the month if we can on these.
Yeah, it's not just workers' comp, it's going to be your retirement benefits too. So and that's based on your salary, so we just need to have that whole picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that already built into that monthly salary?
Gary, have
It is,
we,
isn't it?
I mean,
No,
Monthly pay?
No,
I guess monthly.
No, this is just what they're.
This is just straight pay.
I really like the schedule that you put together. I think this is something that's been long overdue.
Yeah.
Are we leaving a range in there so that if you have an exemplary employee, when it comes time that you could maybe give them an additional benefit if someone is just over and above the top and you wanted to rather just go across the board, or do you really believe across the board is the best way to go?
I think for this part, across the board is the best way to go,
Okay.
and then fall back to the employee evaluations. The nice thing about this $60,000 surplus is you could do quarterly or even 6-month evaluations on the employees, and then if you feel like somebody is justifiable to give a little bit of extra money, you know, you could have like a range for numbers 1 through 5, being 5 the top benefit pay, you know, for these exemplary employees, and then range it down to like $100 being the bottom. And anyway, you could do something like that with.
I'd just like to be able to have some kind
Sure.
of reward.
I
Just
agree.
to put this into perspective, I went over to the dollar store yesterday. In the window, they have now hiring $14 an hour. You guys do. I mean, give me a break, okay? I mean, this is long overdue.
I think the way to possibly handle that is that you just continue on with another category or two. As an example, if a man's or woman is in category 3 and they're doing a good job, then you promote them to category 4. That stays within the structure.
I'm fine.
Now, I know out of the 20 equipment operators I did have, I had the categories 1 through 6 for them, and then I did have a category 7 that was limited to 3 positions out of the 20 employees. And the ones that were above and beyond the others, they got category 7 pay, which was like, it wasn't a lot extra a month, but it was something. You know, it was like $50 or $75. And what a person could do is like have a category 5 and limit it to 1 or 2 people, and they would get an extra $50 or $75 a month. So I mean, that's something to consider too.
So, just for a point of discussion, new employee, I mean, obviously, they could be in any one of these categories coming in, depending on their experience, right?
Exactly, and I've had that situation come up, and that's why the commissioners back in Kansas gave me the flexibility to move them up at a rate that I felt like they deserved, which it was important because I had guys come on board that might have been with another road and bridge department in another county for 10 years, so they deserved more than the $14 or the 16, for instance, in this case. But I had the flexibility to move them up at a rapid pace because of their experience and what they brought to the department. So.
Okay, I would suggest then that if we have no more questions, that we let's maybe put this back on the agenda for the
Yeah, we should make that a goal and just
last
have
of the month. And
the figures from Dawn.
Yeah, I can get some more figures for her, but yeah, I think it is. I agree with Bob. I think it's important to get this done pretty quick, so that especially if we're gonna try and hire another individual on, we can tell them that they're going to get more than $14 an hour. So.
And with that, I know we had discussed the job descriptions. So I would really like to get those together with both of you as soon as possible.
Yeah, I've got those on my desk, and I was going to work on those and get them back to you. So,
anything else on the pay issue? We will put it on the agenda for the end of the month. I'd like to get something done if we can sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. That'd be great.
I understand you got some extra firewood yesterday.
Yeah, we did. Thanks to the neighbors.
We had a big tree fall down on Hornbridge Road there. You just took it out to the landfill? And then
Yeah, we don't put it in the wood pile down.
And then the employees out there go out and get wood and...
Correct.
Yeah, instead of it going to waste, they're able to use it if they need to, if they want to.
Anything else? I haven't looked at your work schedule here.
Oh, okay.
Now, tomorrow, I believe, you're going to go down and meet with Cindy Howard and the folks from the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yes.
And whoever else will look at the Wetmore issues.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to tag along and see what they've got to say. It can be a learning experience for us. So, yeah, I think it's important. So,
Be a good point of contact for us as far as Army Corps of Engineers is with the Grape Creek project and some other stuff. So it'd be cool.
I think this one guy is bringing $200,000 to the table for a research project on that mountain.
Wow.
Don't quote me, but I think that's what we're looking at. What we're looking at, for those in the audience, as part of our recovery effort from the Junkins fire, we're trying to get good data, good monitoring points established on the burn areas so we can see how much rainfall we're having if it becomes an issue. This fire was unique because it was a late October fire. It's not had much, I don't think it's had any rain on it per se. So we've had snow that's thawed and frozen and thawed and frozen. And from a science standpoint, the Corps of Engineers is interested to see what impact that this winter cycle has had on runoff. Some of the thoughts are it may not be as severe as if we'd had a July fire and had a rain right after that. So they're wanting to come in, and that's part of the reason for the meeting tomorrow. A fellow from Vicksburg, Mississippi is going to be here and be looking at those. So it may give us some stream gauges that they go so far and wash away, so it gives us nothing because they're not really expensive, the ones he's using. Super. What else?
I was going to add, in the past, we got patching material at the Road and Bridge Department for our chip seal roads. We develop a pothole or something like that, we use that material to patch it. Well, in the past, we bought that material from Valley Ace, and we bought it in a pallet, and we paid like $500 for a ton of that material. Well, we've got a source in the Springs where we can get it for about $100 a ton. It's going to be 5 times cheaper if we buy it in the bulk. It won't be in a bag. It'll be like, we'll go get it in the dump truck. But the only thing is, we're going to have a way. Whereas in the past, when we bought it in the bag form, we're able to throw those bags in the back of the pickup, and then we can split them open and do our patching with it. Well, that's not going to be that simple anymore. If we buy it in the bulk, it's going to be a money saver, but we're going to have some kind of a trailer or something to haul that material in, so that when we get to the site, we can unload that material, put it in our holes and whatnot. So what we're thinking is a tilt bed trailer similar to this would be what we would need to do that. And not only could we use it for the patching material, we can use it for tree removal, hauling limbs in and different things like that, hauling, pieces of culvert in and things like that. It'd be a multi-purpose trailer, so it would be not just for the patching. So anyway, that's what we're thinking on that. We can save money on one end, but we're going to have a trailer to haul that material in on the other end. So
Can we get any kind of stuff like this on the state purchasing plan?
I don't know.
Not to my knowledge, no.
No, it's very few of our vendors that are going to be involved in that state purchasing, the government discount program, and I doubt if these guys will.
That's one that Penrose has in stock.
What do you see? You put up a little block area with a roof on it?
Yes.
That's what we're looking at doing. We're looking at pouring a pad ourselves, like a 10 by 14 cement pad, and then they make these blocks out here at Seiferd's, and we could put a barrier around the back part of it, and then not initially, but eventually putting a roof over it ourselves, and that way we can keep blowing dust off of it and whatnot to keep from contaminating that material.
What deterioration can occur where this is out in the open versus when it was in sealed bags? Will it affect the life of it any?
No.
Very little.
Yeah, I've seen
No.
that stuff.
Shouldn't because of petroleum product.
Right.
Yeah. Schmidt's the one that does this in the springs, on the south side of the springs, and they've been mixing asphalt forever, and they mix up what he told me they mix 100 ton, and El Paso County uses it through the winter, so you know that it's proven stuff.
And what we'll do is not get such a large quantity.
Now we'll probably he's going to hold me back 10 ton of the 20 ton that he's got left.
So how often do you buy this? I mean, we're talking about, based on $8,000, and I just made that number, I rounded it, 20, and you save $400 each time you buy it. So you take 20 times buying it to pay off the trailer. How often do you buy this material?
It wouldn't be very often,
Yeah.
necessarily, but the fact that we can use this trailer for other things is what makes it kind of
That's where it's
appealing.
going next.
It's
Yeah.
also going to let them, as we have stuff crumble, they've got supplies on hand to go out and do some short-term patching.
Yes, and we don't have to deal with the plastic bags.
How big are those sacks from Ace?
50-pound bags, 50 or 55-pound bags.
They're approximately this.
50 pounds and they're $5.
Yeah, it runs us a pallet is approximately $500. Jeremy was supposed to get back to me on what we gave him, but I bought 8 pallets last year.
Okay.
From Ace.
From Ace.
Do they know you're shopping?
Valley
And no, but
Gary, how much are you authorized to spend without having to talk to us?
It's my understanding $5,000.
So this is over that. So I'm just looking at your budget. So
It's within
this,
budget.
well, I don't see a line item on their capital expenses. So this would be, since it's over 5, it's a capital expense. So, was this, I'm just looking at our purchasing policy, okay? So I'm not sure if you need to get a bid on 2 other bids. You know what I'm saying, for a capital expense. I think you have to do that.
It's capital expense you do.
Well, it kind of depends on the resource for this also. You know, if we're going to have to get bid from 500 miles away, I don't know where the next
No, not on the asphalt, on this.
on the trailer. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This individual that has these trailers here is in Florence, and I don't know. I'm certain there's probably one in the Springs and maybe Pueblo also. But we could
What do you feel?
I'm just saying, I would check with Donna, but I'm pretty sure you have to go through that on the policy when it's a capital. So,
Now, how's that done? Like, one of the things I wanted to visit with you about is, of all the equipment we've got right now, and the thing that we could use most probably right now is another water truck. How would that work if you're buying a used water truck? I mean, it's kind of hard to bid a used item like that, and because what we do is we shop around on the internet to see what we can find that's going to work best for us.
Right.
And I don't know how you'd ever go about bidding something like that.
I just went through that with the airport on their fuel pump dispenser, and if it's a unique item, if you don't actually have to get the bid, if you can find that it's comparable to others, and you can show that, then it'll
price
most
on it.
yeah.
Because what we run into in a situation like that is a lot of times if you try and get bids, then the item you're interested in
It's
gets
gone.
sold out from under you.
Yeah, like on Craigslist. I hear you.
So,
I hear you.
but on an item like this, we can sure do that. We can bid that out. It's not a problem.
But I'm going to ask, because it is in our policy that we do try to stay local,
Yeah.
is to say to Ace that you are shopping, and if there's anything they could do with their
Yeah,
price.
they're not even going to be able to come close.
But I mean, still.
But I'm working on that. I'm talking to Jeremy, so I'm just waiting to hear back from him.
Yeah, in all fairness, we can visit with them. Let them know.
Cold mix at Smith's $95 a ton.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Just so we know that we've done our
Yeah, I know it's going to be. It actually figures out when I buy it per pallet, it's $500 a ton. So that's very.
According to my math, we spent about $4,000 last year. That would be 8 pallets at $500 each, roughly. And that would be probably 10 bags, so it'd be 80 bags. And if they're 50-pound bags, I'm trying to figure out how much we're going to what's going to cost us for truckload. And you're going to be hauling what, 6, 8 ton, 10 ton. What do you think is it?
Yeah, we can get it all at once in one of our tandem trucks, and that's 10 tons, and that's not overloading it at all. So.
It would just be one load annually.
Yeah, it'd be just one load from and go up, get it, and bring it back and dump it.
So that would be 20,000 pounds. And you can get it for $1 for 50 pounds up there, roughly. So that means that it's only 2 cents a pound. Isn't that right?
Yeah, you just have to add in your travel up and back.
Yeah, fuel and
yeah.
Good. I think we need to look at it. And I commend you both for looking at that. Let's see if we can get some more stuff on the trailer. A couple other areas, so we're sure we're within policy.
And as far as the water truck, we'll get some information on that. Let you know what the costs are. We're looking at probably anywhere from $70,000 to $90,000 for a good water truck.
That's a perfect range for a good low mile truck with good low mileage truck.
Our problem is
you're going to have to buy new tanks and stuff then.
No. This being used, it'll all be set up and ready to go. I've been shopping them on the internet, trying to get an idea.
So this will have a tank on it.
It'll be ready to go. We've went that route before. BR bought a couple trucks, then we sent it to Denver Truck Sales. That did not work out.
Yeah, this is already retrofitted.
These are already.
All we got to do is put our touches on it, like stickers and things like that, and then we can start using it.
And that was a good range, Gary. 70.
Will that have a spray bar then, plus a hose, or?
You know what? I have not found one in there yet, and I've looked at probably 200 water trucks, 300, and not one of them. But that's an easy retrofit for us.
Oh yeah.
It's just Schedule 80 pipe and changing a valve around it.
I know
We get.
Seifert has they have several water trucks. I don't know if you want to just check with them. I've rented them before for events.
Yeah.
And I know there's different sizes, but they may have assorts too.
Okay.
For you to look at.
Yeah, most of their stuff they buy through Ritchie Brothers auctions.
Okay.
So biggest majority of it been rode hard and put away wet.
But as far as the source, yeah, they might have
They
somebody
might
that.
have them.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I think you're off and running, and
Good plan.
appreciate both of you.
Yep.
Can't remember.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys.
Okay.
I think that was everything.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Roger. Thank you, buddy.
Roger.
Clint.
Okay.
All right. Next, we'll go back up to the veterans. Sorry to keep you waiting, Jim.
All right. Stand up again.
Life goes on.
Hey, Tim.
How you doing? Good to see you.
Tim, how are you? Good to see you.
No problem. Good. Busy day today. Okay, here's the original. There you go. Copies.
Thank you.
Okay. Monthly report. February, I was sick for almost a week. I lost 26 hours due to December and January. Everybody coming in was hacking and coughing and sneezing. And then I go home, my mom was sick for 2 weeks, so I was getting it from both ends. It finally caught up to me. So, but anyways, we still had 67 visits. Appointments come through, 63 phone calls. And then the last page will show the monthly update on the database. We added another, we're up to 341, and actually we're at 343 as of today. So it continues to grow. Every month still have 5 to 10 vets a month come in that have never been in our office before. So still got a long ways to go, but it's a process and it keeps growing. So one of the things I want to mention. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't see that.
It should be on the very last page.
My last pages are expenses.
Okay. Oh, that's the original. That's the original.
Oh, I mean, you have stuff that we don't have on the original.
No, I didn't give you your copy. Sorry.
All right.
I handed you the original, and I forgot to give you your personal copy. So sorry. Okay.
Ah, that's what
There
it
you
was
go.
there.
There you go. On that. So, and on my report I submitted, one thing I forgot to put on there was I'm going to be gone for a week this month. I've got to go back to Kansas City, leaving Thursday afternoon. Be gone for a week. My stepdaughter, who's here, we're taking her back to Kansas City. She's married to a Navy guy, Navy Academy grad, that being transferred to Japan. So we're trying to spend a little time with her.
Congratulations.
And the only grandbaby we've got is 8 months old. So we're going to take a week and go back for that. So okay.
When are you out then?
So I'll be leaving this Thursday afternoon. I'm going to work half day on Thursday, and we're going to leave Thursday afternoon. Be coming back the following Friday through the 18th. So, okay.
And you've got your leave requested.
Right.
Yeah, actually, I talked to Don about it because I don't have vacation time, so I use comp time.
Sorry. No, I just saw you.
Yeah, Don knows.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
And I just want to point out, you weren't here earlier, but we did approve of the Gateway to Success to utilize the building.
Yeah, and he came over right after
Okay.
we talked, and it's great. It's going to be really good.
Will that work for you?
Yeah, it worked for me. As a matter of fact, one of the things I've talked to him about I've been working on is telehealth. We have a lot of PTSD vets up here, and Shannon knows some of the vets very well. And one of the obstacles is court-mandated counseling, because in order for them to get it from the VA, they've got to go to either Pueblo or Springs. And my dad's on the home-based primary care program. A couple months ago, they mailed him a tablet. Came in the mail, and I called the VA. I said, "Hey, Rosemary, she's the nurse. What's this for?" I said, "Well, the weather's bad. I can't make it on the appointment day. We're going to do telehealth with your dad from home." I said, "Whoa." The light bulb went on, and I said, "Well, can I get one of those for my office?" And so she's been talking, and we've met with telehealth, and we think we're going to have one in here in the next month, a tablet for my office. So then some of the things like PTSD counseling, vets who need their meds renewed, and they're driving all the way down a 2-hour round trip just for that quick appointment and so forth, we're going to be able to start doing those from my office through telehealth. And then we'll be able to start tracking that usage data to justify our case to get an actual telehealth clinic up here at some point. So that's in the works, and there's a good chance I'll have that tablet within the next 30 days. So we're talking to the probationary, so we're talking about that. So then the court appointed things where they need to have these counselings in order to be bonded out, then that can be done. And the excuse of, well, I can't make it to Pueblo or Springs for my counseling, that'll be gone. So that's going to work hand in hand, hopefully, on that. So, okay. One of the things I want to talk about real quick, in October and December, we had 2 disability claims, and we had appeal that we appealed because I felt they weren't denial. One was a denial, one was a denial. We had two hearings. One was in October, one was in December. 2 different cases, kind of interesting, and we ended up winning. In the last 2 weeks, I got notified we won both cases. So these were huge cases. One was for Afghanistan vet who was denied his individual unemployability benefit. He's rated at
at the time at 80%. He's now been rated up to 90%. If you're not rated at 100%, you can still get paid at 100% level. If at 70, 80, 90%, you're still too disabled to hold a full-time gainful employment position. Okay. But that has to be a separate issue adjudicated by the VA. So he was denied a year ago. That's when he came into my office. He'd been working with a different VSO. We appealed it, got the hearing, and he won that case based upon his exams were flawed. And we got new exams done, and he won that case. The second case we won, the hearing was in December, was a Vietnam vet for hepatitis C. Those cases, there's only been 160 cases ever service-connected. Now there's 161. He came to me after he had lost his appeal, and it was getting ready to be prepped to go to the BVA level judge court for hearing. I was able to request a hearing before they sent it off to the BVA. We got the hearing in December, and he got a new exam, and the doctor agreed that the first one was flawed, and so we just got notified in his case. We won that one too. So we're 2 for 2 on appeal hearings. And the reason I mention those because here's the difference of, this is why the accreditation with the VA is so important. If I was not accredited, I would not be able to handle those cases. I would have had to do what normally would have happened here would have been, they would have been turned over to the Denver office and then relying on them meeting with a stranger half hour before the case and see what happens. I've had 3 DRO hearings, 2 I've done, the one that Denver did, they lost. Okay, so, but that's had been the pattern. Most of the DRO hearings that have ever been done in Custer County by the Denver office had not had good results in the past. So that's, so hopefully we can keep that going. So I know in the next year, I'm trying to think offhand, I've got probably close to 30 appeals in right now. I've got one appeal that was in, and I requested a DRO hearing, but we actually won that appeal. They have ordered new exams without the hearing. So that's actually the third one we won. So, okay. February, as I put on my schedule, I wanted just to show you, I had a little traveling going on. It was a busy month. We had one vet who was in hospice. I was notified right at the last minute. And then I went down on the 2nd of February. He ended up passing away on the 3rd. He's a Vietnam vet, Bronze Star Medal winner. Had never met him. And he passed away from, he had never been in the CVSO ever. He had never talked to anybody about his PTSD or his anything. So he was not service connected. So his wife is not eligible for survivor benefits. We are trying, and I'm researching now, but we're still going to try to submit the claim and get him service connected after the fact. Okay? It could be a long process. It could be a year to 2 years. When I met with the surviving spouse and said we have nothing to lose. And there's a good possibility we could win this case. I'm going to predict that we'll probably lose the initial claim, have to appeal it, maybe win it at the DRO level, and it may go to the BVA level. So it could be a 2 to 4 year process. But the good news on that is, even if it takes 2 or 3 years, and if we win, they'll retro pay her back. So whatever it takes. So it's worth the fight. So we went down on the 2nd of that. The 3rd was February. Went down to Trinidad. The state board, they have a traveling board that meets once a month at different locations, and they're the board that oversees the trust fund, the 2 Veteran Trust Fund and Assistance Grant programs. So they meet at different communities. So we were invited to talk about that program. Gail, who's the grant administrator up in Denver, she's real thrilled with how we're working between the VSO office and the VFW, and in the past, the American Legion. Most counties are not doing it the way we're doing it. Most counties, the Legion or VFW is administering a grant. If they contact the VSO, they go see the American Legion. They'll take care. Okay. And the model that we're doing here is what she's trying to get other counties to do with the VSOs. Okay. So we got a chance to talk about that. Public clinic, I went on the 8th of February, had the meeting with the nurse down there about telehealth. And then I try to get down to Florence home minimum once a month. We have 2 vets that I meet with down there. John Shoemaker, one of our World War II vets. His wife passed away this last month. In fact, I saw her the Friday before she passed away, and she was doing really well. She's the best I've seen her in months. Then the following week, she passed away. So, and then February 17th, I was invited down to Walsenburg, the Veterans Home for VSO down there, invited me down for an open house down there. So being out a week, almost a week for being sick, and then everything else. So it was kind of a busy month. I wanted to ask the county opinion. I know, you know, where Anna Ordron, who had been the grant administrator for about 7-8 years with the trust fund, her and Joe are moving to North Carolina in May. She's done a tremendous amount of work since she's been.
I think I would like to do a letter, but also some kind of a certificate of appreciation for her.
Okay, so I just want to make you aware of that and get your input on that. So,
do both of you know Anna?
I do.
Yeah.
And Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really been a struggle, and she's just continued on.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Matter of fact, she just called me this morning because I'm aware of a veteran couple, Marine Corps. Husband and wife, Marine Corps couple, they're both vets. Get ready to move here, so yeah.
Stop you just a second. I'll make a motion that we generate a letter of appreciation and a certificate for Anna Oberbahn in recognition of all her years of service to the veterans in Custer County.
I'll second that motion as stated.
Discussion?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Does it go high enough to be what's her name? I'm sorry.
Anna.
You want a proclamation?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe either proclamation or even, make it a Anna Day or something for West Cliff.
Right, that's a great idea.
I was just thinking maybe escalate it slightly for the service. I know I forgot the name, but I know the service she's
Yeah,
done.
matter of fact, the 29th of April at the Saddle Club is the going away party, community going away party for her. So that might be that would be a cherry on the top for
I'd be
sure.
fine with a proclamation.
Yeah.
Would you like a proclamation then?
I would, yeah.
Also amend my motion.
So I'll second it as stated as a proclamation versus a letter.
Okay.
Discussion? Any more discussion?
Thank you for doing
Okay.
Will you coordinate with us so we get it
Yeah.
done and stuff?
Absolutely.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Both same sign.
Okay.
Motion carries. Okay, continue, Tim. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Do you guys have a wording, formatting for all that? Or? Okay.
We don't, but our administrative assistant can find it for us. She works miracles.
I do want to add something. Could you also address the Fair Board, the president of the Fair Board, Diane Rose, because Anna served many years and donated her salary back as a judge to the Fair Board. So she served as, so they should recognize her also.
Okay. Can it all be inclusive in the whole?
Okay. That's Diane Rose, isn't it?
Diane Rose.
Okay. Do you know Diane?
I hate to say it, but I'm going to be 57 this month and my memory shot. So I probably do. But
Diane Rose.
Face and name person. Diane, okay.
And I don't have a number, but she's in that real estate office next to the little coffee shop there on 2nd Street.
Okay. Diane Rose.
Is that a fair description?
And she's at the Fair Board?
President.
Okay, I'll give her a call.
Okay. Tent?
I appreciate that. Okay. My tent's arrived. I'm excited. It looks great.
This is the tent you're going to use for displays and stuff?
For displays, I'm going to contact the farmers market. I'm looking at getting more out in the public. There were a couple of days last summer. I went over to just grab a hamburger at the farmers market. And 10 minutes there, I met 5 vets one day that had never been to see me. So that's what really triggered my mindset thing. I got to just get out. Been trying to get stuff in the papers and do this as a generation, and then that's worked to a certain level. But I go to the grocery store and meet 3 vets in 10 minutes sometimes. So I'm just brainstorming ideas of
veterans.
I was going to say, if you could contact Dwayne Roby, they haven't set up the official meetings for the May 13th event, but that would be a perfect spot for you.
Yeah. Okay. Last year went real well. It went really well this year. And Dan Warby came from the VA last year. So
Veterans Garden?
Yeah, Veterans Garden. We like to spruce up, definitely in the front. And I'm talking to some of my younger PTSD vets. What kind of gave me this idea was I had a vet last year come in with a flyer, and he lives down in Cotopaxi. And he was wanting to start a support group. And he said, "Here's a flyer." I said, "Well, I like your thinking, but it's going to do the opposite. You put a flyer up, say, come here, they're going to have to talk and do all this other stuff." I said, "Why don't we kick around some ideas?" So we were talking about it one day, and I said, if we were to do a garden, I need to spruce up the front of the building anyways a little bit, and add a little greenery. If I were to get you guys together to work on a project, they would become a de facto support group, and they would just start talking about stuff rather than having an expectation that they're expected to talk about things. So you have to kind of go stealth with some of these guys for sure. Okay.
Are you talking flowers or vegetables?
You know, I'm looking at maybe a little of both. I'd like to throw up the front, because definitely around the flagpole area, I'd like to do the week of Memorial Day dedication, official dedication for Ray Frazier, who passed away here in 2001. He was a 9 Purple Heart winner. And so that would be the first phase of it, and then maybe looking at maybe doing some veggies also. So I'm still kind of working on that layout. But
work out the details and let us know.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's just intent to just let you know that's the thought process right now.
You think you need to be reviewed, huh?
Well, no, I just want to make you aware, so when you start seeing stuff spring up out there, you say, hey, what the heck is going on there? But I think it'd be great, and it really hands-on projects, you know, it's like anything else. You get vets working together, give them a purpose. One of my biggest challenges when I get my PTSD vets coming in, especially once we get into 100% and so forth, is I had last year where I had a vet, we were fighting his appeal, we won the appeal, and he'd been fighting his claim for 3 years. And we finally got his individual employee approved, and this was the first real big case I'd won. And so I was thinking, okay, next week should be a great week for him because this is off his mind and everything else. And you know what? I didn't hear from him for almost 2 weeks. And I got a hold of him because I was a little concerned. And he was really having one of the worst 2-week periods he'd had in years because the focus on the case kept his mind busy. And when that, even though he won, that freed his mind up and he went right to the dumpster. And it was not, and he really struggled. He was really bad shape. And so I learned from that, knowing that I've got to be proactive with these vets. This case we just won, and as soon as I notify them, here's what's going on. We've been talking for the last 2 weeks. You know, okay, what are you doing? Being proactive. You know, you got to do something. You got to choose to do something positive. Keep your mind busy. Otherwise, you're going to, go the other direction. So that's the learning process with this job. Is I'm looking for things. The vets are used to having a purpose, having a mission, going, somewhere to go. And all of a sudden, they get out, they're struggling with their PTSD, and they don't have that purpose, they get lost. And so that's what we're working on, okay? And in line with that is the fire mitigation this summer. That's going to be also something we're going to look at. These same vets are going to be the ones that are going to be interested in doing that. Okay? Okay?
So, but this is, you're requesting a review of your
my position. Yep. Just an honest review.
How long have you been with us?
Almost 2 years. Just a couple weeks away from 2 years.
We didn't do it a year ago, did we?
Nope. It has been done. And as we had a conversation one day, and the interesting thing is, as I applied for the job, and most vets don't know what a VSO is, and you have no clue until you get into it. And then you get into it, and you just really find out how deep you can go. And to do this job right, my goal as a veterans officer here is to be able. One of the things that happens in the state is in the rural areas, our vets are it's not an intentional consequence, but it's an unintentional consequence that in the rural counties, our vets do not get the same representation as they do in Springs, Denver, and Pueblo. Because the budgets and everything else, Chaffey County's VSO office is open 12 hours a week. Canyon City, Fremont County's got over 7,000 vets, and they're only open 20 hours a week. And so they don't get the same level of representation. And it costs, and the bottom line, it's costing vets thousands of dollars of compensation.
I think, and in response to this question, those are all justifications, but I think with Donna, we come up with a standardized form that we want to use.
Donna and I are working on it.
And then we'll, as soon as we get that pulled together, you can be our first guinea pig.
Okay.
Does that make sense, no?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
I agree.
Okay.
Well done.
All right, that's all I got.
Do I hear a motion to approve the Veteran Service Officer's report?
I'll make a motion to approve the February 2017 Veteran Monthly Report.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You have to sign this so we can get it sent to the state.
Yep, we'll be at the state.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you again for everything.
Thanks. Thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks, sir. Keep them all safe. Okay.
Rather than taking a recess, I'm just going to slip out.
Okay.
We need to, go ahead.
We have a workshop at 1.
I know.
Okay.
So I was trying to hurry.
Okay.
But maybe, and we might be able to move hers down into that workshop. Right?
Okay.
If whatever comes in next on your price, you just take it at the front. I'll be right
Okay.
back.
Okay.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Sorry to make you wait.
Did you have any trees on your property? What? Did you have any trees on your property?
Hello. How are you guys?
Good.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, good to see you.
We're gonna go right in. Bob will join us shortly.
Oh, okay. Okay. You guys got we worked on our new report. Did you get it? Did you?
I got it in living color.
Okay. And understand it now? I mean,
Pretty
we
much.
really revamped it and worked on it there. So I didn't know if you had any questions about it, or if you're okay with it, or if you want us to change something.
I'm okay with it at the moment. But
Okay.
I'll come talk to you because there are a few things that I'm a little confused at, but I
Okay.
don't want to take our time with that,
Okay.
if that's okay with you.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Good, good, good.
But if, you know,
That's
because
vastly improved, and I appreciate that.
yeah,
Thank
and
you.
we really worked on it. We took us a while. We would do stuff and then we change it. But I know it's very confusing because of the way the funding streams come in there. It's
understand.
very confusing. So, okay, but you don't have any questions on that one because that one's the biggest. And some of the rest of them are just informational, like our grant, our CSBG grant, how many payments we issue. We try to do that, show you what we do monthly, and the same with the EOC. And then the rest are like the benefits, SNAP benefits, just charts and stuff, so you can see what we do monthly on that. So you don't have any questions on that or anything?
And going through it, I just wanted to know if you felt there were any red flags at this point in time. we
Oh,
should be
no.
aware of.
No. We're doing fine on all of it. We're all within everything. So no, there's no red flags.
I mentioned to you the early childhood
Yes.
program,
Yes,
and that's going to come before
tomorrow.
us tomorrow. And I'm hoping my commissioners, after they hear the presentation, when we take a vote, may or may not approve it. If they do, I appreciate your input into that.
Okay, and I talked to Butch yesterday, and whether or not I could be here in case you guys had questions, but I have another meeting.
Okay.
And so I was going to send you an email, and then the internet went down, so I couldn't do that. But anyhow, I just wanted to let you know that I support the Early Childhood Council, and I'm going to sit on the board. And so we're still working on numbers for kids. Butch and I had another conversation about that, and so we're going to try to get some numbers. He was going to talk to Beth over, or maybe Gail at Public Health, to see what they can come up with, because what I'm capturing right now is just kids preschool and to 8, but it's leaving a gap from 0 to that.
To 9.
To 9,
Right.
or 0 until they come into school.
Right.
And I'm having trouble capturing that. I'm also going to talk to a guy up at Healthcare Policy and Finance over the Medicaid and see if he can tell me if there is a report out there that would break that down. And so I'm going to email him to see if we can get that.
Do we have a problem counting Mennonite and the Amish children who may not be entering our school system?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it hard to get a count?
It's hard to
on
get
them?
a count on them.
Okay.
Unless some, Butch said that, Gail had mentioned that she had worked with some of them on immunizations. So she may have some records on them through that way. So that's why he was going to talk to her.
Because I certainly don't want them.
No,
excluded
no,
from
we
the
don't want them
program.
excluded either. And we're just trying to get the numbers, and we're just not sure how to do that.
Right.
And so some of them may be on Medicaid. We're not sure because we don't handle all the Medicaid applications that come in. Some of them are done online and at PE sites and stuff. So we don't really know how many that might be out there.
I could give you a name and number. I was actually at a fundraiser last week, and Anna Marie Donahue was also there with the mayor of Silver Cliff, and she was addressing immunization with the host and hostess of that fundraiser. And I'm sure that you would get the cooperation that you need in getting those numbers, because they could supply it to you, no problem.
Oh, okay. So you want to shoot me an email with that, or stop by and give it to me? I forgot to bring something. Okay.
Okay.
That would be great.
I'd be more than happy to give
Oh,
you their
okay.
names.
Okay.
You know that there's 2 colonies, a north colony and a southern colony.
No, I really didn't know that. Yeah.
There's a northern colony and a southern colony. So
Okay.
I'll give you their name and address.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I don't know if it would do any good, but also another one might be Marvin Miller.
That's who I'm talking about.
Oh, his wife?
He's the head,
Yeah,
and that's who I talked to.
He's been very,
Yeah.
very willing to step up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
As an example, when we were working on the Main Street Wi-Fi, he said, we don't use it, but we'll donate $500 towards getting it installed.
Oh. Oh, okay.
As a part of the community.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, yeah, maybe they can get us some numbers on that. That would be wonderful. Because we're thinking there's quite a few. I mean, there's probably a pretty good population of young kids, 0 to 9. And so we definitely want to get them in the count and be able to provide services, if they want them, once we get it.
Yeah. And his wife's name is Mary Alice Miller, okay? And in that conversation, she had said that all of her kids were immunized, but I can't speak for the entire
community. Yeah. Because I know some of them are and some of them aren't, and that's totally up to them on that. So, but okay, perfect. Okay.
I can give you that information.
Okay, marvelous.
Did you get into the numbers any? Well, did you get into this the numbers while I was out?
We briefly talked about it.
So
If
we're
there are any
covered
red
that.
flags, and we asked, there are no red flags.
And it's a much, much better report than it has
Yeah,
been.
yeah.
I appreciate you.
Because we explained it more because of how the funding is, and it but it's still confusing. So
But it's better.
it's better. Yeah, I don't know how to not make it confusing because it's confusing.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Then I have well, it's not a question, but we're gonna have this so everybody has facing the right way. And this is on the courthouse edition. I mean the court edition. What we would like to ask, if possible, where we're here, our office, we really need a little bit more room. We need another interviewing room or something, where in this age of technology we do a lot of webinars. That's hard for us because of the way we're set up. It would be great if we could have a room where we could put a computer and 2 of us could go in the same room at the same time instead of trying to figure out how we're going to alternate that and stuff, and we could use it for meetings and that type of stuff. So there's
I can stop you just a
No,
second.
you bet.
As we will be selecting the next person to the firm to do the architectural work, and we will have a series of meetings with county people.
Okay.
That's how, I recognize we need to do this, but that would probably be the time to come forward. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, just so that there's an understanding.
And
this is just for the court.
We understand that. Okay. And what we were talking about would be just knocking, it's already there, it goes right into this room. And it would just be knocking out a wall, framing up a door, and then putting in just an additional wall. So there wouldn't be.
Judge's room?
Yeah, it goes into the judge's chambers now.
And see, that is considered part of court facilities until such time as they release it to us.
Well, we understand that. We just kind of wanted to put a bug in your ear about it because it's already there. We just back right up to it. And then if we just would do that, this is the office, and we could just go right in there. And it's already got, this is there and it backs up right there. All we need to do is just cut out a door. And I mean, this is a very small area. And a door could go right in there, and then this would just need to have a wall, some drywall put in there, and the cost would be minimal. And but I just want to put a bug in your ear. I understand we're looking at a long way away, but I just wanted to mention that. Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
I don't mean to rush you, but we got one more.
Oh no, I'm fine. I just wanted to put that in.
We got a workshop at 1 o'clock.
Okay, I'm good. I'm just good. I just wanted to put the bug in your ear and.
Thank you for all the extra detail that you provided.
Yeah, and thank you for the information on that, and we'll see what we can do with that. And I would be here tomorrow, but I have that other meeting, and Butch and I talked about that yesterday. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. On to the next item of business. Is anyone in the room representing OEM?
Yep.
It's a hat.
I want to be lazy too.
How are you?
Hi. How are you? Good. How are you? Good. Okay. Yeah, I brought everything because I wasn't sure if we were going straight into workshop mode or what we were doing, but. So, I've got my report. I did it on the road from the SEMA conference last week. And so under the deposits, I said that the 86.12 and 86 cents had to be verified. I just didn't have a record on the deposit with me. But that's the amount it came in as when it was deposited February 8th. So I like to keep track of the money. That's one of the most important things for me. And then I talked to Pueblo, and they're supposed to finally be letting go of that $41,000 plus on the vehicle. They said they were processing it. I was hoping it was in the mail at the end of February, but and I'm still working on the reimbursement request on the hazard mitigation grant, which is going to be roughly $44,000. The total expenditures were $49,260. Which left us with $739.51 being all that we could have for a in-kind match. If we'd have gone with a lower bid, we could have had like $7,350. So the $43,750 and the $739, it's going to be $44,000 roughly on the reimbursement. So that deadline was March 1st. I've got 90 days to close out the grant, and I can't begin closeout until they send me the money. So I've got to keep working on getting the money from the state so that I can get my closeout done and not be late. But I'm glad that one's done.
The state right now owes us about $70,000, I think.
The state's already paid Pueblo for the vehicle, so Pueblo owes us the...
Pueblo owes 40-some for the vehicle.
Yeah, in the state, so yeah, we're still looking at $80-some thousand, so which is why I haven't been spending any of the other grant money. The Salamander credentialing system, that grant is being totally processed through by Pueblo, so I didn't have to expend any funds on the order. And I did get the $18,000 or $16,000 back on the radios in first quarter. So I've got a scene lighting grant. I got $10,000 on that scene lighting, and the fire came up with a mobile trailer scene lighting, and I think it's $7,500. So there might be a little shipping and some stuff, but as soon as I get probably the big check from Pueblo deposited, then I'll feel comfortable spending some money.
So you got a trailer from the fire department?
It's a Homeland Security grant, so it's actually through OEM to get mobile scene lighting.
Yeah, right.
John Decker just helped me figure out what to buy on a state.
So we're buying a trailer then?
We're buying it's like, it's basically a tow-behind generator with the lights.
I misunderstood you, so.
Yeah, no, it won't belong to fire, it'll belong to OEM. And I think on the grant we put down that the routine maintenance would be split 1/3 by search and rescue, 1/3 by the county, and 1/3 by Wet Mountain Fire. But it could go to, law enforcement scene, it could go to, we requested it after that hazmat crash in the canyon that night, and we had tried to get lighting up from Pueblo County, and their lighting was all on other events, so we're looking at our own. So that's one, and then once I get the balance on that money, I'm going to ask for a grant change for the balance, because Shannon wants to get some mobile command boards, which would have been useful during
Junkins Fire. Pop them out of the trunk. They're whiteboards, kind of trifold whiteboards, and you can start building out your ICE incident command. We're going to try to get 6 of those total. They're about $250 a piece. So
Is he going to pay for part of them, or we pay for all of them?
I'm hoping Homeland Security is going to pay for all of them. so we'd have to put out the money and then get reimbursed. And then there should be some money for batteries. I've got my South Region meeting in Pueblo Thursday morning, so I'll get some updates. And then the CERT grant. So I already put in a grant change request for last year's CERT funds. The way the Homeland Security grants work is you're kind of working in 3 years altogether. So I'm still trying to close out 2015. That's where I got a little bit of money left on the pickup. Okay. And then 2016 is sort of in process now, and the requests for 2017 go in on Thursday at the South Region meeting. And then 2 weeks from Thursday, we'll have hearings at the South Region to see who gets their grant requests funded. And then by the time the state's fiscal year rolls around, and July 1st, so we won't know, the 2017 grant funds won't get approved till probably like October of 2017. I budget them for 2018 and then have 2 years to get them done and closed out. A year and a half, because you're on that other state calendar.
Efficiency.
So just so you know, that's why on here I'm going to show 15, 16, and 17 grants and part of it's for me to keep track of that. So we did just close out 14, and now we're just about to open up 17. So in 16 I had gotten $2,000 for CERT training and $3,000 for teen CERT. So I'm requesting the teen CERT be changed to just CERT, which is the citizens, because I want volunteers over 18 helping as county volunteers. And then if that gets approved, then I'm going to be ready to probably start spending some of that. And then on the scene lighting, I'll ask for those command boards. And then 2015, I had $3,500 for teen CERT. And they wouldn't let me spend it in VIPS or MRC anywhere else, so I put in a grant change for that. And that's where I've requested those 2 cell signal boosters, one for the SAR building, one for the sheriff's office. And then 1 command board, because that's all I had left was $250. So ultimately we want 6 of those command boards. But that's kind of it on the grants. And except for all the new ones we're requesting for recovery. It gets a little bit deep. And then just on the back I have kind of what I've been working on. I think Gary's going to meet me in Wetmore tomorrow morning. I told him to blame me for changing his
You told him what?
Told him he could blame me when he asked you guys to change him today.
No, it's important, I think, that he be there.
I think it is too.
Tomorrow you're meeting with Ian Floyd.
ERDC. They're flying in today.
They're from
they're flying in
Corps
today.
of Engineers, and you're going to go
In
out and tour the fire. Well, he's coming out of Mississippi, and the Albuquerque people are coming up, then you said too.
Yeah, and then Van Troon will be there tomorrow too. So we're going, we're taking a field trip with the Army Corps of Engineers. Gary's going. I think Teresa might be going. Michael Schwab can't go.
Who those folks are. I don't know if you guys are familiar with all we're talking about here.
So Ian Floyd, we had a small recovery meeting in February, and the local Army Corps of Engineers rep, Van Trude, Trude. Anyway, Van had said that there's a potential for a research project on the Junkins burn scar that would be fully funded, but we might get some benefits. And so Bob and I kind of got on the phone and sent some emails and started talking to Albuquerque, found out it's the engineering research branch out of Vicksburg, Mississippi. And so then we had a conference call Friday morning with him, and Michael Schwab from the state got on that conference call with me, but he can't go to the field. So they are coming out to look at all of the values at risk and see what we can do. And they're timing it with the recovery meeting, the big recovery meeting. So if there's any way you're available to make the big meeting Thursday at 1 o'clock in Pueblo. Yeah. It's you probably learn a lot.
Where is it?
It's at the Emergency Operations Center. I
think I got an invitation.
Okay. If you didn't, it will probably open your eyes to the recovery side. You know, when we did 402 the other day, we got all the way up to recovery and we had to stop. So one thing we might consider is just at the county level with maybe Gary, myself, Shannon, and
If
the
we
three of
need to,
you
we
is
can
doing a
cover the pit.
workshop, getting Christy and Mike here, and because we have some, she's pushing me on, priorities and what we're going to
We've
do.
got so many ends right now. We've got to start to tie up. We got grants are reaching out
Yeah.
to. We're working with DOLA. We're working with
Right.
a whole bunch of agencies, and it would be good for you guys to see the.
Yeah,
No,
so we kind of pulled it all together. It's a lot this week. I'm going to be go, but we're meeting at 7:30 tomorrow morning. They're having a pre-meeting tonight, just the core guys. We're going out in the field tomorrow. They'll probably continue on Thursday morning on the North Creek side, depending on how far they get tomorrow. And then, so I've got my South region meeting tomorrow morning, and then at 1 o'clock, Thursday, 1 o'clock Thursday, we all come together. There'll be folks from the Pueblo Reservoir, any stakeholder that potentially, and it's all watershed based, where all this debris and material and water are going to go. So that'll probably be, I'd say, 60 people or more. And there is a call in if you don't want to go and you want to call in and just listen in. And then Friday, we've set a community meeting at 2 o'clock in the courtroom. In fact, I'll see if Brenda can send that out. The reason we did one up here is we'd really like to get county employees and sheriff's office and emergency responders, folks that don't want to go down, just so we're all communicating the same message. And then 6 p.m. at the Baptist Church Friday night. And then the Corps is doing sandbag trainings at 10 a.m. at Road and Bridge. And at 1 p.m. at Beulah, and I don't know where Beulah's doing theirs, but
Gary and I were talking about sand. I assume you guys have got that.
he and I
worked out.
talked yesterday. He's going to take care of it, he and Larry. Brian's got his taken care of for Beulah. The bottom line is it's a really short and sweet hour and a half sandbag training, but they leave us 4,000 or 5,000 sandbags.
Is that, and what's the one at 2 o'clock on Friday?
The courtroom at 2 is a community meeting, and then Wetmore at 6 p.m. is a community meeting. And they're basically the same, but I think we'll have a little different coverage. Like Paul Crispin can make the evening one, but he can't make the day one.
And the community meeting topics will be
Just a report in from everybody. It's really to try to get people to start awareness and preparation.
They were asking for that down in Wetmore.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll be the last one, and the reason I made it Friday is because we'll probably have a little bit of new information Thursday. The funding is so far behind the need that, we've got it. But from my role, I have to get people motivated to start cleaning up the creek, mitigating the impending events. And really opening their eyes to the preparedness piece. We need to look at alert and notification. I've asked Rich Kramer and Troy Couch with the posse to write my IAP, the Incident Action Plan, and maybe start doing some mapping. But, as far as emergency services, we need to get our heads wrapped around the whole, if an event happens, where are our roadblocks, where are our evacuation centers. A lot of that's standard in the plan anyway, but just kind of pre-planning so that if we have a rain or flood event that we're ready to
and our goal
go
is
pretty
sometime
quick.
next 30, 45 days we got everything wrapped up from planning.
Be nice.
I don't know if I mentioned you or not, I don't remember, but on Monday, next Monday, I'm meeting with Kathy Garcia. Do you have that on your calendar?
I have that on my calendar.
Okay, I thought I mentioned that. Okay.
I was going to invite somebody, and I don't think I've done it. Ruth, I need to invite Ruth to that. So we'll follow up with that. Teresa Springer's supposed to be writing some talking points for politicians, so that as we're talking to Kathy and, for Corey Gardner and some other folks, we need to rattle some cages to get some funding set loose. The projects, I'm hoping Teresa Springer will have the projects done for Thursday's recovery meeting. She was working on a spreadsheet for all 3 fires. And just to give you an example, on her spreadsheet, she was looking at about $4.5 million of potential projects on just the North Creek side of the Junkins fire. So far, we've just put in for the $180,000 on the mitigation specialist. I have got some pushback because I didn't invite Pueblo to play.
And are you keeping San Isabel Land Trust in the loop with us?
San Isabel, the Land Trust is, they're working with us, and then Ben, who's also on the Conservation District, he's applied for the Emergency Watershed Protection Grant, and that would be facilitated through them. And then at the SEMA conference, Christy, Mike Schwab from the state, and then
Christy Doon.
Christy Doon and another associate of hers, and I don't remember that gal's name. We all sat and met at the conference on the grant for the flood gauges and stream monitors, rain gauges and stream monitors, and we've sort of tabled that until we can rewrite it the way it was. It is a 50-50 match on the emergency side. It can be a 25% match. We can match it with some other federal funds and stuff, but I'm trying to figure out what this picture is going to look like when we've got potentially a lot of different pots of money and where we can match funds and where we can't and where we can match in kind. So it'd be really nice to get a full-time person in here working on some of this stuff for the two fires. And Mike Schwab said that request would be 30 to 60 days. So I think that's been about 30 days since we put that one in. So I haven't heard anything yet. And then based on Thursday's meeting, we should probably all start having that serious discussion of what our priorities are as a county, and I'll have a chance to bring Gary up to speed. So.
She met with Dennis Page, and I just stopped by to say hi and got kidnapped for 2.5 hours. But we had a really good meeting regarding how the whole thing fits together, and we went over on the whiteboard and laid out actions and reactions and who plays where and how that fits. And it was quite a complicated process, but I think we've started, don't you feel, to pull these things together where we can explain them?
Yeah, and part of that overlapped on the mitigation side, and Dennis told me to erase the whiteboard, and I took a picture, and a week later he texted me and said, I hate to ask, but will you send me that picture? And he was down in Warfenor County, so that was pretty funny, but so out of the CMAT process, trying to get the mitigation piece rolling, we're still trying to figure out, and part of what the picture we were drawing is maybe it has to start with Custer County, but how do we build this collaboration to whether it be watershed-based or mountain-based, and the EMs have to work together, the county commissioners have to work together, Pueblo reports under the sheriff's office, the rest of us all report under the BOCC, but, yes, it is.
But we're a long ways down the road.
Yeah, we're
got
making
ways
progress.
To go, but we're a long ways down the road.
The Office of Emergency Management, and then Bob individually have joined MOP, the Middle Arkansas Area Prevention Partnership. That meeting's coming up in 2 weeks in Pueblo. But through MOP, because we're members, we're looking at getting AmeriCorps. The Forest Service has them for 3 or 4 months working here on contract, and from what I understand, about 20% of their contributions have to be community service projects. And so I've got to get a form with MOP to get private landowners to say it's okay to work. But we're potentially looking at having the Army Corps work 1 day a week in the Wetmore area as their community service project, and that would be... Huh?
Do you have to house them?
No, we don't have to house them. I don't know
if...
I don't necessarily have to feed them, but if I take care of them, it's going to go a long way. So I may go a little over budget, taking some cookies or brownies, or getting Ruth to help me. She's pretty good with that. She was feeding bears during the Jenkins fire. She was putting sandwiches in the cooler at night, and the cooler was empty every day. So she kept thinking that firefighters were eating the sandwiches. Turned out they weren't.
One other thing that I think is really positive on this research grant, Bill Donnelly has agreed to cooperate with us, so we can work on his lands as well as on the Forest Service lands.
Yeah, we'll be visiting his property
And that's
tomorrow.
important. Okay, that about it?
I think so, unless you have any questions on some of the other stuff I did, but just keep on.
See you here in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, take a break. I do have... Jim Webb sent me a DVD. It's a PowerPoint. So do you want me to bring my projector back? Or you've got a screen? Or you'd have to rotate around, or we could meet over at the... Okay, so I'll leave this stuff here and bring the projector back and set up while you guys are taking a quick lunch break. Cookie break, whatever you've got.
Okay, thank you very much.
And, my door's always open. I know you don't know the program.
It isn't open. You got to bang on it.
You have to bang on it, you have to call. But if you let me know and you track me down, I am happy to sit down and talk with you and let you know what's,
And you said 6 o'clock Friday, is it the...
6 o'clock is at the Baptist Church.
Here or in Wetmore?
Florence.
Yes, Wetmore.
Wetmore.
2 p.m. in the courtroom, 6 p.m. down there. I've got a poster hanging on the board in the hallway.
And it's the same meeting both times, just different participants and different
Okay.
concerns. Is there any other business to come before the board at this time? Hearing none, I declare us officially adjourned at 12:37. Thank you for your patience and your endurance, audience.
I'm gonna leave this here, and I'll bring the
Thank you.
projector back and set up while you're breaking.